Racing, I'll quickly try and get through the grid, as much of it as I can anyway. Trojan Motorsport drawn on pole position with the 301 car, the James Stockson Co car alongside. Row 2 then for Scuderia Polo Rosso and CEX PrepTech, with MDA and BPC tyre buffing on row 3. Row 4 then for SCR and Alpha Trojan. The top 10 meanwhile completed by WRC Developments with CB Auto Services, winner of this equivalent race a year ago, and AF Racing completing the top 10. That's all we've got time for really on the grid, so we'll instead start building up to the race, which is only a minute or so away. It's the third round of the Silver Lake C1 series. It is a series, not a championship, so no points to worry about, and it means that teams can dip in and out to their heart's content. They don't have to commit to a full season, but most of the front-running teams tend to do most of the races. Trojan Motorsport's 301 car, which has been drawn on pole position, has won both of the races so far this season. At Brands Hatch, they won by just under 10 seconds from WRC Developments, who I mentioned won here a year ago, and last time out at Silverstone on the national circuit after 3 hours, it was a Trojan 1-2. Trojan Motorsport won. Alpha Trojan came home in second, some 21 seconds behind them. We've also, of course, had the BRSCC 24-hour race at Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit a little bit earlier on in the season, which is predominantly a Citroën C1 event. It has had other cars on the grid with them this year, BMWs for example, and a couple of the European Citroën C1s, but the highest placed of the UK C1s was Team No Name, which was the car that Josh Cook was in. Josh sadly not here this weekend, but Ryan Bensley, one of his co-drivers, is here this weekend. Ryan, Josh, Jade Edwards and Ollie Cook were winners in the C1 category at the Silverstone 24 hours. That was back in May, I seem to recall. But that is all a distant memory, because now it is time for the third round of the Silver Lake C1 series here from Donington Park. We've got 49 cars on the grid. It's going to be a very busy 3 hours and a particularly busy run, I suspect, through the first corner. Trojan Motorsport on pole there, the yellow and green car. The purple and black is the James Stockson Co car that starts alongside them on row 1. As I said, the top 10 cars on the grid were randomly drawn from the top 10 qualifiers at the end of the 50-minute qualifying session earlier on today. But Trojan Motorsport, who weren't quickest in that session, have ended up at the front of the grid. Here we go then, 3 hours of Silver Lake C1 Series racing here at Donington Park in the summer sunshine under a cloudless sky. When the red lights go out, we're away and racing at Donington. That happens now. Off we go, and a good start made, I think, by the 300 car, which has really jumped from the third row of the grid, and they're going to challenge for the lead into the first corner. Alpha Trojan are giving them a shove in the 421 car. Through into the lead will go the BPC car from 6th on the grid. They grab the early advantage through Redgate. Alpha Trojan round the outside, battling with the Trojan car, their teammate car, for second place as they head towards the crater curves for the first time. We're all safely through Redgate. Phew, but really this is where things start getting very, very dicey. Side by side through the crater curves on still slightly cold rear tyres and into the fearsome old hairpin. Let's hope we get them all through here in one piece. Alpha Trojan to the lead as they head out of the right-hander. Way wide goes the BPC tyre buffing car, but it is going to be the 41 car in the lead, and a big dive over the grass for AF Racing. I'm not sure that was a legal pass, but it was certainly exciting to watch. I'm not actually convinced they're going to gain any positions out of that, thankfully, but they had nowhere to go. A racetrack full of Citroën C1s, and they found themselves squeezed onto the grass ever so slightly. I've got to say though, John Ratcliffe, and I hope I'm not cursing this, a really clean first 2/3 of a lap with this many cars on this particular track. That really impresses me.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to take the corner, is it? Just straight line it and avoid it totally. But to be fair, when you're going, 3-4 wide, I understand it on the first lap, keeping yourself out of harm's way. And like you say, as long as they haven't made up any time or spaces from that, should be absolutely A-OK. And yes, what a first lap then. Some great ding-dong racing action, but no contact just yet. I know we are really poking the bear, aren't we, with that one, as the drivers go 2 by 2 through the last few corners. Thankfully it was 2 and not 3. We've already seen that does not work. On to lap number 2 we go, and some drivers are trying to make it 2 and 3 wide, and we're 2 wide for the lead then. They will go back to single file as they head onto the brakes, with the 421 still leading the 301.
Yes, so that is Alpha Trojan ahead of Trojan Motorsport. Alpha Trojan, who came through from 8th on the grid to the lead in, well, less than half a lap, really, wasn't it? It was down at the old hairpin that they were able to make the decisive move for the lead. The third place James Stocks and Co car, which started from the outside of row 1, managing to reasonably maintain position, and then the BPC tyre buffing car of Rob Smith in 4th position. The great thing about the C1 series is that they run the Q-tag system, which is literally a wristband, I think, isn't it, attached to all of the drivers. As they leave the pit lane, they scan their wrist, and we know who's in the car because the transponder updates with a driver name. So I can tell, we've got drama already. I'll get back to that in a moment. 432 are in. That is the Rab Sport racing car. They're the first pit lane visitors, but at the front of the field, 421. That car being driven by Chris Freeman in the opening stint. 301, the Trojan car, the sister car, that is the Adam Willis and Charlie Bingham car. It's Adam Willis in for the first part of the race. 582 in 3rd position. They are Charlie Dark in the car. Rob Smith, as I said, is 4th, and in 5th position the 380 car, that car being driven in the opening stint of the race by Mark Thompson. They had an off in qualifying and brought about a very brief red flag.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, hopefully we won't see the same in the race, but we do have 3 hours ahead of us, so I think if we don't see a safety car, I'll be absolutely amazed during this one. And yes, as Andy says, of course, we can see the names of the drivers, but you can as well on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Next to the team names, you can also see the last name of the drivers behind the wheel as well. If you fancy learning of a particular team that we don't mention about, you can see there on the timing tower on the left-hand side. Down through into the first couple of corners we go then, and the 300 and the 380 battling well, which, unless you've got keen eyes, it's easy to mix those two up. They continue on nose to tail down the hill, and they are battling also with the 582 as well in 3rd place. There they all are. We're 3 wide as they come into camera shot down the hill, down through the crater curves once more, and they just about sort themselves out down through Old Hairpin. But look already, we're 5 minutes into this, and already some pretty sizable gaps opening up between these groups of cars. And as expected, the 2 Trojan cars at the sharp end working together very, very nicely. No need to battle at all, pushing each other on and around the circuit, and if not pushing, sitting in the slipstream, keeping nice and relaxed as they carry this through. This first stint, of course, is simply settling in and seeing what kind of gap they can make at the front, because there's much potential for things to reshuffle later on in the race and things that they cannot account for. So all they can account for is going as fast as they can out on the track, and at the moment the 2 Trojans, look at the gap they've made at the front already. A good few seconds, that is, as they've, I'm going to say it, probably pretty much broken the toe already. That gap is sizable as they try and continue to scamper off ahead. Yeah, Rob Smith and Mark Thompson, though, 3rd and 4th respectively, have got themselves ahead of the James Stocks and Co car, and they now also seem to be working together to try and close in on the leader. The purple car there is the 582 that at the start of the lap was in 3rd position, and at the end of the lap I think is somewhere around 8th as they cross the line. Yes, 8th position, so they really did lose quite a bit of time. Meanwhile, Chris Etheridge in the #blessed car is set the fastest lap of the race. I thought that car was a bit out of position in qualifying, only 14th quickest I seem to recall, but they're starting to set some good lap times. They're in 12th and inching towards the top 10. Indeed they are. Do you know the chaps that race that car? Because I love that livery and I love the team name, but it's so rogue. I don't know who thought of that. I have asked them. Chris Etheridge I don't know quite as well, in fairness, but his co-driver, whose name now helpfully has escaped me, Colin Bysouth, was a champion in MX5 Super Cup a number of years ago, certainly a regular front runner. I'm sure I've asked him why that is the team name, and I think he said, just sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, we'll find. I mean, that often is the answer. There are some funny team names in motor racing, and if you do try and ask whether there's any deeper meaning, you're often left disappointed. Yeah, well, I always enjoy a very silly team name, and of course, you don't really get silly team names in the Fun Cup. You get silly driver names sometimes. But what on earth are you referring to? I have no idea. Go find that out for yourselves. But it's always great. I love endurance racing for that fact of just the fun of it as well. Just having a good bit of fun with your friends. But of course, when the visor goes down, it is aggressive battling. Of course, I mean, I used to, when I was back at university, I raced for the university team, and we were Cardiff University Motorsport. So I think you can assume what we were naming our endurance team throughout our time there. As, oh dear, off-track excursion already into the gravel, up through Coppice that is, and that's a long way to get themselves back on. Can they get out the gravel? Oh, so not quite. They hit the steering wheel in frustration, and they are beached. Oh, they're less than a car's width away. Another one off, 3-4-1 at the final chicane. Is that car going to get going? Answer, no. That's the Blob.
which is in the gravel trap. Rob Smith, meanwhile, sets another fastest lap of the race, but Blob is going no further.
Oh no. Well, 2 cars, it seems, then stuck in the gravel traps. And, well, it was only, 2 minutes ago I mentioned if there wasn't a safety car, I would be surprised. Well, there we go. Less than 10 minutes into the race and already looking like we might have a bit of a neutralisation. If so, that lovely gap that the 2 Trojan cars have opened up, that's now pretty much 3 seconds back to the third place car, the 300, the BPC tyre buffing car. Of course, they've just got the fastest lap of the race, to be fair, so they're looking to close back into the leaders, working together well with the 380 just behind them. Now they started, but they were 11th on the starting grid. The Gala Performance with BPC Motorsport car. Those 2 working together, try and close back up to the leaders. But as I say, if there is a safety car, they won't need to work too hard because that safety car will draw them all back close again. As there is the #Blessed car making moves. As all they are going to try and push the 341 out of the gravel, and they've done a great job of it. Out of the gravel goes the 341, and back onto the circuit they go. Have they done the same with the red car? No, that one is still stuck there up out of Coppice, but we'll see if they're able to do something similar. So yellow flags will go in now. Will go back in after being out for quite some time there with the driver being stuck, but they do rejoin the action. Issue for them is they've rejoined right in front of the leaders. So although they are still on the leading lap for the moment, they might find this race becomes rather challenging as both the Trojan cars try to find a way past.
Yes, and a bit wide there for the Trojan Motorsport car in second place. I would argue that Rob Smith is catching those 2, though. He's been setting fastest laps, and that's starting to show, isn't it? Rob in the green C1. His son Sid Smith will be sharing the driving duties with him over the course of the 3 hours. And yeah, that car looks pretty rapid. I don't think Trojan Motorsport are necessarily going to have things all their own way, as that back marker, though, is now slightly getting in the way of Rob Smith, in fairness. Now he ducks to the inside, heading up through Starkeys and Schwant's Curve, and heading up now into the right-handers at the top end of the circuit, McLean's and Coppice. Round the right-hander we go. Did the car at Coppice corner get moved, I wonder?
Last time we saw it was still there.
Yeah, I think I can still see yellow flags off in the distance, so we'll wait and see whether race control do elect to throw a safety car. There have been 2 races. Oh, there we go. Live Snatch is ongoing, so that's how that's being dealt with. We do have that option here at Donington at a few locations to throw the Live Snatch recovery vehicle out onto not onto the circuit, but into the gravel trap, and get the cars moved under yellow flags. That's good news. As I started to say, we've had 2 C1 Series races on the Donington Park National Circuit over the years since the series conception in 2022, and in those 2 races, the first one back in 2022 there was 1 safety car. Last year there were 5, so who knows which way today is going to go. Based on the rest of the weekend, I suspect we might be seeing the safety car at some point, but so far race control able to deal with these incidents without neutralising the race.
Yeah, impressively so. Jumping straight into action, the fantastic marshals here once again, the Orange Army doing a brilliant job here today at Donington Park as they try and get that car back out of the gravel there up through Coppice, and of course that is the 310, the Scuderia Polo Rosso car that is stuck there up in the gravel, and also we saw earlier that 432 in the pits, wasn't it, the Ram Sport Racing car. So a couple of drivers falling by the wayside, and as we saw as well, the Blob car stuck in the gravel, where they've rejoined 47th place, but they now find themselves as well the only lapped car that isn't those 2, either stuck in the gravel or stuck in the pits, as they drop down through the order as the rest of the leaders put a lap on them. But you're definitely right in thinking that the BPC tyre buffing car is closing in on the 2 leaders. Was 1.6, now 1.2, and now they're getting into the slipstream here, aren't they, of the Trojan Motorsport car. They're holding on to the back of the Alpha Trojan car, but that slipstream definitely being gained by the number 300. They'll find even more lap time from that, and they'll continue to close up to our race leaders. Is that the car that's stuck in the pits? Is that the 432 Ram Sport Racing?
No, that is
it's
not.
Different.
It's one of the Emax cars, 343, Alex Port and Matthew Price, Emax regular front runners in C1 Series Racing. So that's another issue, potentially, mechanical issue. Rob Lewis, I believe, is out and about in the pit lane for us over the next 3 hours. Hopefully he can start bringing us a few updates on these issues as we move further into the race. For now, though, I think we're about to have maybe a battle for the lead. The Trojan cars, understandably, have been working together, but the arrival now of the BPC tyre buffing car in third position might just slightly start to change the dynamic here.
Oh, it 100% will. It 100% will. For the moment, the 301, whether they like it or not, effectively acting as a bit of a rear gunner here for the 421. So will we see some defence here from the Trojan Motorsport car, if not only to just hold up the BPC tyre buffing car to allow for maybe the Alpha Trojan to gain enough of a gap to break that toe? That'll be easier said than done, though, as, of course, that was momentum, slipstreaming. We said it all through this weekend's racing as they're the 343 heads back out on circuit. So good to see them rejoining the action as they rejoin in 41st place. It seems, 43rd it is as they do exit the pits. Well, these three drivers continuing on, and as I was saying, still the Trojan Motorsport car focused on the BPC tyre buffing car behind, but at the moment unable to find a way through. So he closed up sort of 3 or 4 tenths a lap, but now he's found the rear bumper of the car in second place. For this lap anyway, not able to find a way through because with these cars having to use that momentum and them all being so close to each other in terms of overall pace, actually getting moves done concisely as well, making sure that there can't be a re-overtake at the following corner is very, very challenging to do.
It really is a challenge. There also might be an element of Rob Smith just trying to save a bit of fuel, not really push the car too hard, and just work with those two at the front of the field. It is, as you say, very, very early days. Right, Rob Lewis, I mentioned him, and he's sprung into action at the mere mention of his name. He is in the pit lane with an update for us.
Welcome to the pit lane. I'm just going to give you a quick update on some of the cars that visited the pit lane. Now, you saw the Rabsport car came to a sudden halt. That because it ran out of drive because the drive shaft has gone on it. So no drive shaft, no drive on these. They haven't got limited slip diff, so you need both drive shafts for it to work. You saw the Emax car come in as well, and I quote, it's cooked. It blew all of its coolant out of the top of the cap. Whether it's a leaking cap or not, the system's over-pressurising or it's not pressurised enough. We'll hopefully see what happens there. And the team are currently working out what to do with the car. They might call it back in and see what they're going to do. It might need an engine change. I'll keep you updated. So some early race action here going on. Let's go back on to the action on the track.
Thank you, John. Rob, oh my word. Thank you, Rob, for the update in the pit lane.
No problem.
I don't know what's going on anymore. The heat's getting to me, I think. What is happening at the front of the field is the leader, Singular, is now starting to get away. So you mentioned, slightly tongue-in-cheek, that the 301 car was maybe acting as a slight rear gunner to the leader. Never mind, actually the slipstreams brought them all back together again down the back straight, but in that middle sector certainly Alpha Trojan looked pretty comfortable. The gap really we need to watch now is 3rd to 4th, I guess, because the Gala Performance with BPC Motorsport car in 4th position was only a second behind at the start of the lap. I think they're now starting to catch the leading trio slightly. Yes, they are, 37.3, so 10th of a second or so quicker than the cars in the group ahead. And then in 5th position, the pink car, largely pink car, is the WRC Developments machine, Donington winners from a year ago. So that car in the hands of Ryan Bensley, who announced a week or two ago now, earlier this week actually, that he was going to be returning to the British Touring Car Championship for the second half of the season in a Speedworks Toyota, and is making his return to the championship at Thruxton. I spoke to him actually off mic during that Supersport race, and he said, whenever I tell people I'm going back into the British Touring Car Championship and I'm re-debuting at Thruxton, people look at me as though I've gone mad, and I have to say I gave him exactly that look when he told me it's not where I would choose to step back into a British Touring Car.
Yeah. I feel that race is going to be a pretty aggressive one to jump into, but you'll have to get those elbows sharpened and ready to do battle, and I look forward to enjoying that from trackside. Well, 15 minutes of the race already then. The 310, the Pollo Rosso car is back out onto circuit, so a couple of the cars that had issues have been able to find their way back out, but of course, as we heard from Rob there, a few with some more serious issues, and I don't think we'll be seeing them, well, anytime soon, or if ever, during this one. As we saw, we said that the 41 was getting away. It seems as though they're able to pull a nice gap through the lap, and then as soon as they get onto Starkey Straight, that slipstream draws them back together, but not being quite so strong this time. There's still 2 or 3 car lengths there between your top two. It's all pulling into the pits already, goes the 421. So the 421, your race leader, is bailing to the pits already. Alpha Trojan, go for it then. I think that's the first of our proper scheduled pit stops so far in this one, and another driver peels in. Was that 4th place as well?
It was fifth place, I think they were at the time. It's the WRC car anyway, so Ryan Bensley, I've mentioned him now, so he's decided to go back into the pit lane. That's his job done. Now, again, if you weren't tuning in for qualifying earlier on, let me remind you of what the pit stop regulations are. It's a 3-hour race. You must make 3 pit stops during the 3-hour race, 1 per hour. So between minute 1 and minute 60, you have to pit once. Between minute 61 and 120, you pit again, and then between 120 and 180, you pit again. But you can pit whenever you like during that hour. So you can pit on minute 2, you can pit on minute 59, and it completely resets at the turn of the hour. So if we have a safety car, for example, at any point, there would be an advantage to pitting perhaps behind the safety car at the end of 1 hour and the start of the next, but the series have thought of that, and you're not allowed, well, you can do it, but you have to serve a 5-minute pit stop if you pit behind the safety car. So probably won't see teams pitting behind the safety car unless it's absolutely desperate, but you might see teams pitting right at the end of 1 hour and right at the start of the next hour, just to get 2 of those pit stops out of the way. A tank of fuel will get you way beyond 2 hours, 2.5 hours in a Citroen C1, so you've got pretty much complete freedom on when to pit as long as you make 1 per hour.
So my thought would be then it's kind of opposing to the Fun Cup strategy. In terms of the Fun Cup, you want to leave it as late in the window as possible for a potential safety car to save time on the pit stop. But as you say, if you have to do a 5-minute pit stop under safety car, surely you don't want to leave it until the last 5 minutes or so, because if a safety car comes out, you then have to take that penalty. So yeah, you're sort of dicing with heavy frustration if you leave it out to the end of the window. But I'm sure we'll see some teams still trying to go for it if it works with their strategy. I think also there's going to be a lot of the strategy in terms of when you pit with the teams around you in terms of gaining track position, and also where you then slot back in is going to be crucial as well. Do you want clear air to get laps in, or do you want to be behind people to get the slipstream? I don't know.
I don't think you get a say in the matter.
No.
You're not going to have clean air. There are 49 cars at the start of this race, John. Although, as I say that, there is a bit of clean air at the front of this particular group, but it's very, very sparse, isn't it? You're going to usually be surrounded by other cars, and it's part of the appeal of C1 racing, but it does mean that particular tactic sort of goes out of the window. So a lot of the front runners pitting early. Off has gone the 3-4-1. It won't make the barrier, thankfully, but they will lose some time. It's Blob again. Blob have had a tricky first 20 minutes of this race. Who's in Blob at the moment? That is the team name, by the way. I've not completely taken leave of my senses. It is the 3-4-1 Samuel Cunliffe, who has a few stories to tell, I think, after the end of, well, not even possibly halfway through his opening stint of the day.
Well, he's found gravel, and now he's found grass. He's ticking it all off the bingo list for today. But yeah, well, this time, as you say, didn't find the barriers, and that's the main thing. We'll get it back off the grass and back onto the circuit. But yeah, teammates, especially seeing that on the live stream, probably won't be too happy with him. 2 times in the first stint, he's found a bit of off-piste action. But hey, this time, as we say, it was only grass. He's able to get himself out of said situation, and they continue on once again. But still, loads of drivers diving to pit lane, and as we saw a couple of moments ago, a few of the heavy hitters of the drivers that we expect to be up near the sharp end, making that first pit stop of the race. So again, we'll sort of see at the first hour how they've settled in after the first pit stops. But as Andy mentioned, some teams might do one right at the end of 1 hour and then one right at the start of the next, which will again shuffle up the order and make it even more challenging for us in the comms box. But we'll do our best to keep you up to speed with what is going on out on the circuit.
And there'll be differing opinions as to when you put fuel in. You don't need a lot of fuel, it's just a splash, really. At some point after about now, really. From this point on, you could probably, with a bit of fuel saving, get to the end without refueling again. It seems ridiculous to say that 15 minutes into a 3-hour race, but very low fuel burn on a Citroen C1, as you would expect. And so we might see some teams go for a slightly longer pit stop now. There's no minimum pit stop time in C1 Series racing, remember. Go for a longer stop now, maybe. But then not have to refuel later on in the race. Of course, it does mean you'll then have a full tank of fuel on board for the rest of the race, and in lightweight cars such as these, that might not be ideal, but it's an option.
We were chatting about fuel strategy yesterday, weren't we, with the Fun Cups. Is there maybe not the thought of, if you're saying a full tank can go sort of 2.5 hours, maybe just having a little bit of fuel in for the start, so you're really quick on that race start, and then first pit stop, bunging all the fuel in for the whole rest of the race. That's one strategy anyway. Maybe some teams have done that. We've seen some bailing to the pits pretty early on in this stint. Others maybe going longer in the window, taking a little bit less fuel on later in the race, so wasting less time. There's so much strategy that plays into it, and that's why the C1s are always so exciting in terms of strategy, and 49 cars out on track, that makes it pretty exciting in and of itself.
You might be onto something though, because a lot of the cars that were really rapid in that first little stint were the ones to pit first, weren't they? Both of the Trojan cars, the tyre buffing car of that was in third position of Rob Smith. So yeah, they pitted quite early, whereas Gala Performance, who lead at the moment, they were just sort of steadily going about their business, weren't they? Not necessarily really pushing for quick lap times, and they are still going. So I don't know, again, maybe Rob can update us slightly on what's going on. I can tell you that the Alpha Trojan car came out, well, it's now up into 9th position. They are ahead of the BPC tyre buffing car by about, well, in fact I can give you the gap because they're about to come across the line, I believe. Alpha Trojan are ahead. Oh, in fact, yeah, yes. Alpha Trojan are the best placed of those that have stopped. That's the 421 car. The 301 Trojan Motorsport car is still ahead of the 300, but they are about 7 seconds behind the car that was leading the race. So definitely different length pit stops then amongst that leading group. They are back inside the top 10 now, those three, as most of the field seemingly have decided to go for an early pit stop. But yeah, interesting that those three cars, John, that were nose to tail coming into the pit lane are now separated by around 7 seconds. So much quicker pit stop for Alpha Trojan than it was Trojan Motorsport or BPC.
Now, is that a case of a slicker pit stop from the team? Is that a case of one's put fuel on board, one hasn't already? Well, we just don't know. We do not know. We can only see on the live timing in terms of how many times teams have come into the pits then. And yeah, as you say, I think it looks to be, well, actually, it's way more than half, isn't it? It's actually maybe even more than 3/4 of the entire field that have already given us one pit stop in this race, as we see another heading in, this time the 380. So the Gala Performance with BPC Motorsport is in from second place on the road at the moment. Let's see how speedily they can get back out onto the track, and can they challenge into the top 10 once they re-emerge.
Yes, Team Insane, meanwhile, that's insane spelt like the River Seine in Paris, you know, French cars, Paris. Hilarious. They have picked up a penalty, that's less hilarious, for a yellow flag infringement, and that is a 5-minute stop and go penalty for the 442. So Team Insane, unfortunately, they're going to be in the pit lane for quite a long time. That will take them well down the order. They'll lose 3 or maybe 4 laps actually from a 5-minute pit stop, so that's costly for them. Gala Performance meanwhile have pitted, so Gala Performance were in the lead. That means that CEX Prep Tech have now moved through. They're yet to stop in the 469 car, that car being driven at the moment by Daniel Kell, and into second position has gone the number 311. That is TGR Racing, and it is Luke Haberman in the car for the opening stint. So he's up into second position. The best of the pit stoppers then, Alpha Trojan in 8th position.
Impressive stuff. Is the river in France not pronounced the Seine?
Well, I would say that, but it doesn't really work as a pun name anymore, does it? So, yes, I wasn't going to be that pedantic, John. I thought I'd leave that to you.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's a rubbish pun. Get better, guys. Come on.
It's no hashtag blessed, is it?
It's no hashtag blessed. Come on, guys.
And it's certainly no blob. Now there's a sentence I didn't expect to see on a live commentary. Anyway, we'll get back to John in a moment. There is the 399 car through Redgate Corner. That's the Morwin Motorsport with Driven Minds car. Who's in that? Is it Nick Ramsey-Goff for the opening stint? Yes, I think it is. That car just making a nice move up the inside into Redgate Corner. But yeah, interesting, John, that I would say more than 3/4 of the field have elected to pit inside the first 20 minutes of the race. That does suggest that there is a strategy that most people are agreeing on, and then I'm interested now to know why those that haven't stopped, and how much longer they plan on going.
Rob, where are you?
He'll be on it, I'm sure. I can hear him scurrying from here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would expect, especially with the teams up near the sharp end, if there seems to be a general sentiment in terms of the strategy, maybe just even slightly offsetting to that to see if you can get a jump, either undercut, overcut, whatever you decide to do. But clearly, with a lot of the teams deciding to go here, as you say, in the first 20 minutes, there must be, in terms of the calculations, it must be quite a sizable difference in doing this strategy comparatively to other strategies that you could be doing, and that is why a lot of the teams have decided to go that way. But that'll mean, in terms of the strategic race of this, will be nullified ever so slightly if the drivers are on much more similar strategies. But equally, that then means there'll be much more outright racing on circuit, because it won't be done in the pits, although time can be gained and lost in the pits, and that battling will be done out on circuit. So with 2.5 hours still left to go in this race, so nearly 30 minutes in, nearly 1/6 of the race completed. And like we say, yeah, it's a crazy number of drivers that have pitted. Genuinely still only, what is that? I reckon 15 cars still needing to come in to give us that first pit stop, and they've still got 33 minutes to do so. So will we see any of those cars deciding now that a huge number have come in that early par? Do they decide to go, well, we'll just do the opposite. Let's go late. Let's go late in the window, and we can just see. We'll just see. It might work. If it doesn't, hey-ho, we went for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it will massively make a difference unless you get a safety car. You don't need a safety car at the end of the hour, because even if you don't need fuel, you have to pit before the end of the hour. So if you get to minute 58 and they throw a safety car and you've not pitted, well, guess what? You're going to lose 5 minutes in the pit lane. So it is a bit of a gamble, isn't it? 3-4-1 are in. It's Blob. Yep, they're back on our screens again. This time a driver change. This looks like a fairly standard pit stop for Blob.
It does. They've had their fair share of off-track excursions already, haven't they? But they are into the pits for their first driver change, and we'll see if next driver on board can keep it on the straight and narrow just a little bit more. Teams continuing on then. Another driver dives to pit lane, so another team having their first changeover of the race. I say changeover, doesn't necessarily need to be a driver change. Of course, there are teams in this with 2 drivers. There are plenty of teams with 3 drivers as well. Trying to spot down the list if anyone has got any more than that. No, it's all 2 or 3 driver teams in this one. So with a 3 driver team, as we say, you need to do 1 pit stop in the first hour, 1 in the second, and 1 in the third. If you've got 3 drivers, that makes a lot of sense then for switching over. But if you've got 2, you're going to be doing a couple of double stints in there as well. So some strategy to think of as well, not only in terms of when you pit, but also which driver to put in at which point of the race. Who do you think is going to do best on the race start? Who do you think will do the best if maybe in the last 15 minutes there's a safety car and they've suddenly got to do a safety car restart? There's a lot of strategy in that as well. So interesting to see when the drivers decide to send each other out, and I wonder who in the team decides that as well.
Yeah, not sure. That's an interesting question to pose. The Cat DT car went off there. That's the Colin Hode, Mark Hode and James Canning car. The Hodes were Fun Cup drivers, were they not? It might have been before your time, but I want to say they were there was a Hode in the Team Truman's car, I seem to recall. Long time ago, best part of 10 years ago. I might have dreamt that. Wonder whether it's the same family. Anyway, they were on the grass coming out of the old hairpin, and lost a fair chunk of time as a result. Again, losing that momentum on the long climb uphill through Starkeys and Schwantz Curve. Situation at the moment then, as we tick towards the end of the opening half hour. Wow, that's gone by quickly. CEX Prep Tech lead the way, the 469 car. They've got 11.5 second lead over TGR Racing in second, who are only half a second clear of Meaden's Motorsport in third, 311 and 364. Fourth position for the 330 Marmoto car, and in 5th position, the first of those to have stopped, are Alpha Trojan, the 421 car. They are 3.8 seconds ahead of Emax Motorsports 345, which hasn't pitted, and so more to the point, they are 7 seconds clear of Trojan Motorsports, the 301 car, which was in 2nd position before the pit stop. So they've gained 7 seconds on their own teammates through that pit cycle.
They have indeed. Yeah, impressive. Very impressive. Is that differing strategy? Is that sticker pit stops, as we say? Well, the team from the lead are in. Are they? Nope, just pushing it into the grid spot. No, they are pushing it into the garage. They are pushing it in. So, dear. The 469, that is, not looking like they will be continuing on much further. What a shame. It looked to be just a regular scheduled pit stop for them. But no, straight into the pit box they go, and yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to be moving anytime soon. They had about a 2.5 second lead then as they peeled into the pit lane, but sadly the CEX car not going much further. I've always wondered why is CEX on the side of the car? I've got no idea. Also, I didn't want to pick you up on the fact that I know that's not how you pronounce the brand name, but we probably can't actually pronounce the brand name correctly on this live stream, as the GSF Car Parts branded car heads into the pits now as well. For them, though, looks to be a much more scheduled stop. No being pushed back into the proper pit box. So looks as though the 536 will get underway pretty swiftly. They've also pitted from the top 10 as well. From 9th place it was for the 536. So new driver jumping on board there for the W Endurance car. As, oh my goodness, that was getting close between those three as they come down the start-finish straight. The car in the middle there nearly squeezed into the car on the left-hand side of your pictures. The 448, though, is able to thread the needle and gain the places back from those two.
Yes, 3 white cars, maybe about to go 3 abreast down the hill here. That looks interesting. No, one of the car on the outside backed out of that one and settled back in line. The lead now taken by TGR Racing's 311 car. They lead by 6.5 tenths of a second over Meaden's Motorsport. I'd love to pick them out if we could, but I've quite frankly no idea where they are on track. Oh, I think they've just gone down towards the old hairpin, actually. They've not long crossed the line. So somewhere in the first sector, car arrives sideways on the grass coming out of the old hairpin. Who was that having a drama? We'll never know, but whoever they were, they managed to carry on again without any damage, thankfully. Another near miss down at the old hairpin. I mean, we will probably only catch about 10% of the near misses in this race, quite frankly. There's so much going on around the racetrack at any given moment. Really, these races, I think, are best viewed trackside, aren't they? Because then you get a proper perspective for just how manic they are.
Yes, seriously, man. We actually probably need. I know in the producing van they can see every camera all at the same time. That's what we need for this race, don't we? We need to be able to spot all of it because there's just too much going on. Too much going on to keep up to date with the action out on circuit. And like you say, there'll be quite a few pirouettes in this one, I can imagine. As here is fair play to the Alpha Live camera ops. They found the 2 leaders. Here they are down Starkey Straight. Then our top 2 line astern.
Yeah, I'm genuinely impressed. I don't know how they picked those 2 cars out. Luckily, they're on their own, these 2 at the moment. They're in nice, clean air, and it is the 311 car with the advantage. Now, neither of these cars are pitted yet, remember. Are either of them coming in this time? No. So they're definitely on an alternate strategy, aren't they? They're one of about a dozen cars, maybe, that are continuing deeper into this opening hour before making their first pit stop. So the sort of Gulf liveried car leads the way. The 311 car, the Anthony and Luke Haberman car. Luke is in the car for the opening part of the race. 364 in second position. That's Jack Sexton, Carl Child, Peter Spalding and Tom Sexton sharing the car, and it's Peter Spalding in second position right now. So we'll keep one eye on this battle for the lead, and another firmly pointed on the pit lane where Rob has an interview for us.
You saw the 469 car pull into the pits there. Well, as you can see, it's having some work done at the moment and more drive shaft troubles, Mr. Kell. Talk us through.
Yeah, it's a really good start. You know, the couple behind got through and whatever, but I really knuckled down trying to chase after Trojan at the front. We're going all right. We're trying something different strategy, going long. And to be honest, since the first lap, around every left hand, it was droning a little bit. I was like, see what it is, see how we go. And then just there, going down the back straight in 4th gear, just boom, straight to the limiter and then no drive. So luckily it happened there and managed to get in the pits, but yeah, I think we're pretty
I think as far as drive shaft brakes go, better to happen there than, say, down the bottom of the crane.
Exactly, yeah, because if it happened anywhere else, I wouldn't have got it back to the pits, and it would definitely be race done. But, you know, hopefully we can get back out. We'll be a few laps down, but car's quick, so we'll see where we can get to.
Condolences, mate. You were looking absolutely rapid there. Now, before we go away, obviously, John and Andy up in the commentary box will be wondering why quite a lot of these cars are pitting early. So, earlier on, I did explain about the pit stop rules. So you're allowed 1 pit stop every hour, any time during that hour. And after speaking to a few of the team managers, it was explained to me that traffic is a big factor here. There's nearly 50 cars in this race, so there's not a lot of wiggle room to get those fast, consistent lap times in. If you're being held up in traffic, it's actually beneficial for you to, after 15, 20 minutes, maybe even half an hour, get into the pits, get your pit stop out of the way, obviously depending on how many drivers you do have, get that pit stop done and get back into a bit of clean air so you can get your head down, get into a groove and maybe do another hour, get into your second hour of the stint and then work out when you're going to pull your driver in then. It's all about that strategy. But yeah, it's all early to play for here. We're going to see a lot more pit action in the second hour, and I think that's when you're going to see the strategy come to the fore. Back to you guys.
Right, okay, so that in essence it's just personal preference whether you want to get that pit stop out of the way early or maybe stay in some clean air. So I guess maybe the ones that are going long don't find themselves held up in traffic too much, and so they're quite happy to keep pounding around, whereas maybe some of those that came early just did so to try and put themselves on a different bit of racetrack around some different cars. They weren't being held up. That would appear to be the gist of it. So, yeah, interesting philosophy then, and a couple more coming in actually as we say that. Quattro Formaggio were one of them as this lead battle continues to rage on, with the 311 TGR racing car continuing to lead the way. We've had another stop-go penalty, by the way, dished out. JFR, which is the 554 car, Joe Fletcher, Ian Thompson and Jake Cork. They've got a stop-go penalty for a yellow signal infringement. Whether that's the same as a yellow flag infringement, I don't know. I suspect it is. Just different wording maybe on the timing screen. The leader meanwhile, squeezing round the outside. Whoops, and someone appears stage left. Who was that? That looks like an Emax car to me, maybe.
Didn't spot it. Did not spot it. We'll see as they come down Craners. We'll see if we can pick them up. But the interesting one there about the strategy is he was going 2 by 2 down Craners once again. But I don't know, but it sort of baffles me a little bit that, because my thought would have been that if you're at the sharp end of the order, I mean, drivers weren't exactly battling, were they? And if you then pit early, you drop into the pack, you then catch drivers who surely are not going to be on the same pace as you, and that means you're going to have to overtake them, rather than if you were at the sharp end with drivers who you think could be on pace with the leaders, as are you, then you would think that would work best because you can slipstream, work together a little bit. Okay, if the gloves start to come off and drivers are battling through every single corner, there's going to be so much time lost that, okay, I would understand bailing to the pits, but a lot of them went early there when really in our leading battle, in quotation marks, they weren't really battling, so didn't really see, there wasn't really much time being lost there, so I don't know. But either way, they've done it now, and I'm sure they're all going to prove Brimong, and they're all going to have the best strategy ever, and I'm going to be totally incorrect. But anyway, we press on then. Only now 22 minutes until the end, of course, of the first pit window and the start of the second pit window. So a few more teams still needing to give us that first pit stop of the race. Then as we look down the list, it's only, I'd say, around 10 cars now that still owe us that. They've got 20 or so minutes to do so. And then, as Andy mentioned earlier, it will totally reset, and we'll look on to the second round of pit stops. Now,
We've had a change here. Sid Smith has got himself ahead of the 301 car, now in the hands of Charlie Bingham. That is for 5th position, but net 2nd position, because this is the BPC tyre buffing car of Sid Smith that was 3rd before that round of pit stops began. We're still waiting for 3 cars to pit, so essentially for 2nd position. I'm intrigued to see what Sid's lap times are in comparison to Alpha Trojan ahead. Alpha Trojan's last lap a 37.0, Sid Smith a 36.9, so very little. It is only a 10th or so, but the gap has been coming down. Remember, I said that was 7 seconds at one point. It's 5.8 now between essentially the leader of the race and this car, the car that is in net 2nd position. So interesting that that BPC car's got in between the Trojan cars, but can it now cover that distance to the essential race leader of the race? The Alpha Trojan car 421 now being driven in the 2nd stint by Chris Freeman. It's just a 2-driver entry, that one, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether Sid can continue to close down on that Trojan car up in front. The green machine heads towards us out of Starkey's corner. Didn't see where the move was made, but I just clocked that going past our window a lap or so ago that they'd moved through. And off in the distance, you can just see the Alpha Trojan car, the other yellow car with the green highlights. That is the car that essentially, once everyone does make a pit stop, we'll be back into the lead of the race.
Yes, we've got green and yellow, green and yellow.
Yes.
The top 3, so easy for us here in the commentary box. Into 2nd, as you say, goes the BPC car. Well, we saw in that first stint they were able to get past one of the Trojan cars into 2nd and then closing up to the race leaders, and before that even closing up to the top 2. They of course had to do that in totally fresh air. It took them a few laps to close in. As soon as they got into the slipstream, they closed right back up to those top 2. So it's been shown already that the 300 can run in clear air and can catch leaders who are towing each other along. But of course, it was a different driver in the car during that. Sid now on board, and let's see if he can do something similar. Of course, he'll get the use of slipstream from some other cars that he's putting a lap on as well. But speaking of, the car he's chasing will also have that same benefit, and they'll also have the same negative of actually trying to get past these cars. As there you see, that will help the 300 there as the 524 gets right in between them as they both continue to try and chase down the race leader.
Indeed they do. They took another 10th out of them on that previous lap, so it's all going quite well. Back to the pit lane though, Rob's got another driver to catch up with.
Now, it's not often you get to chat with team owners, certainly, and none quite as dashing as it. First of all, introduce yourself to the world.
Simon Fletcher, Team JFR.
And your driver has actually got into a spot of bother, hasn't he?
Yeah, that'll be my son.
What happened?
He overtook car 442 on a single yellow.
And that resulted in?
Popping up to chat to a guy called Dave in race control.
And that resulted in a 5-minute stop-go penalty. But there's an extended part to the story, ladies and gentlemen. What's your driver that's currently out there not doing?
Coming in.
And
missed the board. And we've had to pull him in on the pit board just to make it clear. Yeah.
And the best bit is it's Ian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of these commentators.
He is a circuit commentator that's going racing that currently can't see the stop-go penalty board or his own team calling him in. Let's talk about the team. You're quite new to C1 racing this year.
Yeah, we're loving it. We Brands Hatch, all brand new, first race, done okay. Silverstone, we had an excellent time. We were 8th in class. We started the race at 4 on the grid. Coming here, Donington, completely different track. We've gone from 32 cars up to 49. It's like the Arc de Triomphe on a busy day. But yeah, and tyre pressures and degradation, it's all new to us, but we're loving the learning.
It's quite a nice analogy, that, about the Arc de Triomphe. I did hear Mr. McEwen actually talk about Team Insane and point out it is the French River. You are quite right, Andy, as well. Lots to learn. What's the ultimate goal for this team?
On each race, just to finish every race and improve. So, you know, if we come in the top 20, that would be great, but I think we'll be in the 20s. Finish a race, cross the checkered flag, take all the learnings away, ready for the double header at Snetterton.
And you're very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's another test.
Right, hopefully at some point in the next few laps your driver does listen to the stop-go penalty and comes in, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the marshal's just come over saying we 554, and I said we're doing everything to get him in. You know what drivers are like? They're in the moment, aren't they? They're properly in the moment. Well, you're a driver yourself, so.
Yeah, it can happen I think at this point the only thing you can do is throw the pit board actually out the windscreen.
Well, I'll tell Jack to do that next if he don't come in. So, yeah, it's all learning again for us. So.
Good to see you. Great to see the JFR car out there. If you spot it out on the circuit, it's got the really cool sort of prototype camouflage livery on it with the JFR logo. Very sexy looking to see one out there. But for the moment, I'm going to do a bit more sleuthing up and down the pit lane. I'll hand you back to Andy and John in the comms box.
Thanks, Rob. There is the 421 car, which heads through Redgate Corner. They're back into 3rd place now. The net race leaders. Someone's off behind them. That was 442. Bouncing their way back on. 442. That's Team Insane. We were just hearing from them in the pit lane. That was good timing, wasn't it? And they bounced through the gravel trap at the very next shot. So no damage done, hopefully. 421 then gain a position from the lead. TGR Racing have pitted the 311 car. So 364 Whedon's Motorsport have now taken the lead of the race, but they again still owe us a pit stop. They were pretty close together, weren't they? The 311 in fact has just left the pit lane going into Redgate Corner. And they've rejoined actually right in front of another really good battle that I'd spotted involving the Silver Lake car. We'll see if we can pick up on that in a moment or two. Here they come actually down the hill. So they're the Gulf liveried car. That's the car that was leading the race 311, and the 3 cars directly behind these 2 are all battling for position, and they include the James Stocks & Co car, which I seem to recall saying had a penalty earlier on, didn't they? There's been so much going on. I forget who's had a penalty and who hasn't now, but that dark purple 582 car that was on the outside of the front row, remember, is now starting to try and regain some ground. They have had a penalty.
Drive-through penalty for track limits.
Track limits, that was,
it was
right.
only 2 minutes ago, though.
Yes, I've just written it down literally 2 minutes ago. That's why I remembered it. Thank you, John. So, yes, drive-through penalty. They haven't actually served it yet. That's what was confusing me. So that purple car with a drive-through penalty to be served. They've just been overtaken by the Silver Lake car, the 558 car. That was for position. The Aaron Chalk, Alan Preble and Michael Chapman machine. It was for 11th position, that. But that's those 3 cars at the back of this queue, all fighting for genuine on-track position. And they're not the only ones, but it's hard sometimes to pick out the genuine battles for position amongst those who are on different laps. Silver Lake with another move up the inside against the 456. That was for position. That gets them back into the top 10, just as 456, I think, are coming into pit, and the James Stocks and Co-Car comes in to serve the drive-through penalty.
Yep, they both peel straight in then, don't they? So despite making that manoeuvre, they'll both head into the pits together then. 3-1-1 up the inside there, down into the first couple of corners. So an on-track position gain once again for them. Of course, 9th place overall at the moment for TGR Racing as they find their way through on the 392. So that was not around them on circuit, that was a lap or so down on these drivers. So we head down the hill once again and all just sort of settling in now, as you say. A couple of drivers, a couple of teams I should say, diving to pit lane. So who do we have then? Meaden's Motorsport out in the lead still was their first pit stop of the race. Then we have got Eminently Ambitious down in 19th place, still owing us a stop. And then we have JW Bird Motorsport in 24th, who are still owing us a stop. Then Team MKD in 29th, still owing us a stop. And that is it. Those are all the teams that we're still expecting in over the next 14 minutes or so, as we've already seen a couple diving to pit lane then. So already should sort of be settling into race order, and we're getting a proper idea of how this one settles down. Well, seemingly very similarly to how it was right at the start of the race. An hour in almost, and still the top three as they were before those first round of pit stops.
Yes, the net top three.
Yes.
Actual race leader just went out of shot there. It's the 364 Meaden Motorsport car. One of now very few cars yet to stop, interestingly. So that car is just turning into McLean's there at the top of the shot. That's your leader, and they are yet to pit. But actually, I'd say there's maybe only 4 cars now that haven't yet made a visit into the pit lane. There they are, pitching all very sideways into Coppice Corner. That was the leader. They might not be the leader anymore by the time we next cut to them. They were virtually backwards turning into Coppice that time. Hopefully they managed to catch it. You can catch a slide in a C1 reasonably easily. Just floor the throttle and steer into it, he says, having never had to do it. But it's easier than some cars, I suppose. The trouble is, though, John, because they're such short wheelbase and they're very top-heavy, they have a tendency to snap back the other way, don't they? So it is a balancing act.
Indeed, yeah, you can definitely see a very difficult to deal with wobble from these sort of cars. It goes one way, it goes the other, and suddenly it's off pirouetting into the scenery. But no, well held from your current race leaders. I don't think they award style points in the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series, but if they did, the 364 would be at the top of the championship. What a send that was. And yeah, as you say, with these front-wheel drive cars, you can make it look like a proper incident, but you've got it pretty much under control. So the 364 carries it on. Yeah, the drivers learning how to drift as well as race very quickly in these C1s. Only 10 minutes now left to go until that first pit window comes to an end. And yeah, still, that car at the front, Meaden's Motorsport, owing us that stop. 15 seconds they've got ahead of the net race leaders, so Alpha Trojan. They're going to be losing a lot more than 15 seconds in that pit stop, so they will be dropping down the order.
Yes, definitely so. I've got to try and keep track of who's got penalties, because of course if they come in to serve a penalty, it counts as a pit stop, and that will, I guarantee, confuse me in 2 hours' time.
That's going to help.
Yes, the James Stocks and Co car, for example, is showing as having made 2 pit stops, but of course only one of them was an actual pit stop. Now, this is all very interesting. I was watching this group coming out past the commentary box a moment ago. It features our net 2nd and 3rd place cars. Sid Smith in the green car at the front of this queue is the net 2nd place runner of those who have stopped, but he's found himself in a world of trouble and a whole world of traffic, and that means he's now losing time to that car that just went through Coppice, which is the leading Alpha Trojan car, and also losing time to the Team Trojan car behind, which is only a couple of cars further back in the queue. So yeah, Sid Smith had been gaining a couple of tenths a lap on the Alpha Trojan car, but now in traffic he's finding that that's going the other way.
Indeed, yeah, that just shows some drivers very speedy in terms of one-lap pace, other drivers really good at picking their way through the order. So it often helps having one of each in a race team, and you can sort of balance yourselves out. And of course then you can send out a particular driver at a particular time in the race that benefits with what they're able to do behind the wheel. Right then, sounds as though Rob's ready for us again. Down to the pit lane and to Mr. Rob Lewis.
Well, we had a chat earlier on with Colin Hode, who's, I think, is it Mark out in the car at the moment?
Mark's out at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. How did qualifying go for you guys?
Oh dear, racing driver excuse, but it's coming out now. We had a fantastic setup on Friday, and we haven't quite hit the spot today. A little bit warmer. There's just something not quite right. We're doing okay. We're competitive. I think we're around about the top 13 at the moment, top 12. But that's where we are at the moment. So hopefully James and Mark can just drag us up the field a bit.
You got some gun drivers in there, and of course we've got the man himself driver training them.
Yes. Yeah, well, we've got Mark. Yeah, Mark's out there, and James has done a bit with me as well. So, if that was the question, yes. So yeah, but it's quite surprising actually. I've just seen 2 drivers here today that have come up to me and said, "You're the one to blame," because they've both been for driver training with me at Millbrook, and then now they're in C1s. So we have a laugh and a joke because I'm responsible for people spending lots of money on motor racing, and they didn't have a clue they were going to do that before they came.
Well, I'll turn that and say we've got you to thank, but motorsport very much is a family affair, is it not?
It is indeed. It is, and I think what we're about to do is speak to one of the Mark Hode fan club, Charles.
So you've literally brought the neighbourhood.
I have. Well, Mark has, not me. I live in Bedford. Mark lives very locally. So there's a strong following within the local Tutbury community that follow Mark and his racing, and we've got a young person here who is part of that club.
How are we doing, young man? Introduce yourself to the world.
I'm Charles, and I really like motorsport.
You really like motor, and this is your first C1 event?
Yeah,
How are you enjoying it so far?
I'm really enjoying it.
Are you the leader of the Mark Hode fan club?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Is he a really good driver?
Yeah.
And what about you? What do you want to race in when you get old enough?
Maybe a touring car or a C1.
Would you do a C1 over a touring car?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, that's a good answer.
That's a very good answer. I will say there's a very good C1 driver that's also a touring car racer called Ryan Bensley down the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some touring car C1 racing signatures. So, yeah.
I think it might be worth you going down to see Ryan, see if you can get his signature.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll try.
I think he's garage 2.
Garage 2.
But if you're enjoying your day so far, are you going to come back to another C1 event?
If I can, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, put it there, sir. See, young fans, that's our next generation of C1 racing drivers. So, and it's always good to talk to Colin Hode and the CAT DT driver training team. Hopefully that car can get a bit closer to the front. They are a front-running car, so after a few surprises in qualifying, wouldn't surprise.
Well, we'll never know what wouldn't surprise Rob. Not much would surprise Rob Lewis, I don't think, all of the time that he spends in the C1 paddock. Tell you what, though, why choose between a C1 and a touring car when you can race both? I mean, we've had Josh Cook, Jade Edwards, Ryan Bensley, they all race together in this series. We've had plenty of touring car drivers, actually, come and have a go in C1. You start your career in the British Touring Car Championship, then you progress into the C1 series. That's a stepping stone for many a great driver to come and race in this fantastic series, but it's important that you pay your dues first and learn your craft in touring cars.
100%. Yeah, we've seen plenty of drivers make it to BTCC, but their career just sort of stopped there. They never quite made it to C1s, but no, it's great to see some making the transition. No, as we say, of course, it's amazing as well. I think that just shows as well how fantastic the paddock is and how great these cars are to race in terms of the fact that you've got drivers from, like we see, such big series like BT. Oh, they're going to get stuck, aren't they? Oh, no, they're not. No, they are going to drag it out. Ah, well done. Well done. We'll work out who that was off in the gravel. But yeah, like I was saying, it's similar to the fun car, of course, that we had yesterday. Big drivers, very well-known drivers amongst, say, BTCC, upper echelons of Formula racing and things like that, all coming to enjoy their craft and get stuck in. Seems as though it was the 305 that was off in the gravel earlier on. But yeah, amazing to see. That just shows the draw of exciting club racing like this. Even drivers who are very well experienced across many different disciplines of motorsport still getting involved and getting stuck in. And I think that's just a testament to how fantastic the Silver Lake C1 racing series really is.
Team Stag Racing, that was 305. Peter Wood, Ian Breer, James Beaumont and Jonathan Allbones, one of those drivers in the car at the time. We've also had a drive-through penalty for the 331, which is Abbott Racing. That is the Charles and Lionel Abbott shared car for exceeding track limits. A few teams now starting to be pinged for exceeding those pesky track limits. So the lead is still held by Meaden's Motorsport. They are now the only car. In fact, they've just pitted, right on cue, they've just pitted. I was about to say they were the last car to pit, and they are now in from the lead. So Alpha Trojan once again lead the race. They are somewhere just behind this, oh there they are, right on cue. Don't know whether that was intentional from our director, but we've caught up with the new race leader just as they slip up the inside of some traffic going into Redgate Corner. Their advantage is 7.9 seconds now over BPC tyre buffing. So at the start of this stint, it was 7 seconds. It came down as low as 5. It's gone back out close closer to 8 seconds now, as they've managed the traffic really well over the last 10 minutes or so. So Alpha Trojan back to the lead, BPC Tyre Buffing in second, Trojan Motorsport in third. WRC Developments, by the way, just moved up into 4th position. Ryan Bensley's back, or still showing in that car, interestingly. So he started the race and double stinted, didn't get out of the car when they came in to serve that first pit stop, and he's got Blake Anglis behind him now in the Silver Lake car. That has just changed.
There's a car stuck in the gravel we can see out of our commentary box window. That is out of the first corner, and they've got it sideways. There they are, the 524 it is that's stuck in the gravel. Who is that?
Petrol hedonism? Is that what that's supposed to mean?
That has to be that. Petrol hedonism is a very well-known YouTube channel.
Oh, is it?
So it might be them. But I will go to find out what the names of the guys behind the YouTube channel is. And see
is it Ciro Chiampi, Lewis Stockwell, or Suresh Nahar? Okay, we're going to do some Googling or YouTubing in the commentary box. That car is being pushed back out. I'll tell you what, it's a good job these cars are light. Only took 4 marshals, I think, there to push it without any outside assistance back onto the road, and it continues on its way. That was not the only car that's been through the gravel trap at that part of the circuit over recent laps, I have to say. I've been seeing big clouds of dust from outside of the commentary box window pretty much every single lap. There is your leader heading down the hill. We are 3 minutes and 20 seconds away from the end of the opening hour of this race, and so that means we have we're 3 minutes and 20 seconds away from the resetting of the pit window. Remember, at the end of the opening hour, everyone must have made 1 pit stop. Everyone has made 1 pit stop now, and they can start pitting again as soon as the clock ticks over into hour number 2. But I'll tell you what, John, that first hour has absolutely flown by.
It has indeed. It has indeed. But were we expecting anything different in the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series? Of course not. Yes, from my quick Googling, yes, Ciro Chiampi is the CEO and founder of Petrol Hedonism. So there you go. I was sort of wrong. I know they do make a lot of content online, but Petrol Hedonism is more of a sort of petrol head community, really, more than anything else, putting on big events and things. And of course, content then comes with that as well. So yeah, I've seen them in different YouTubers' videos over the time. So once you said the name, I thought, hold on a second, it must be them. And it is. The chap who's sort of the face of the organisation is going to be behind the wheel of the car at some point in this race. So great to have them racing here in the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series, and yeah, seeing how they do out on the Blackstoff themselves.
Very snazzy website by the looks of it as well. They're a proper outfit, aren't they? So yeah, give them a like and a follow, and they might well keep you updated on their future Citroen C1 Racing exploits. There's the 582 car. They had that drive-through penalty earlier on. Charlie Dark and Adam Button in the James Stocks and Co car. Where did they end up after serving that penalty? Wow, long. Oh, 13, there we go. Not that far down the order then. In the end, they've served, and they've been in the pit lane twice, but only one of those visits was for a mandatory pit stop. They've actually done quite well then not to lose more time from that extra visit to the pits that they made about 10 minutes or so ago. But that car that started on the outside of the opening, the front row, has just been overtaken by #blessed on the previous lap, I think. That car now being driven number 326 by Mark Bennett, so Colin Bysouth probably will be getting in at the next pit stop, which potentially won't be that far away, because we're a minute and a quarter now away from the end of hour 1.
Yeah, do we think that it will sort of mirror the first hour? Do we think the teams that came in earlier in the first hour will also come in earlier in the second hour, or will it be a change-up in strategy for the second hour? Well, it won't be too long to wait and find out. Just seen someone dive to the pit lane there. Well, it's only about 56 seconds until this first window closes, and I do believe, as you mentioned earlier, we've already had everyone into the pit, so either that's another penalty being given out for someone. Who is it in the pits, Andy?
It's the Hodes. It's the Cat driver training car, which was running in 10th place at the time. And yeah, you're right. I don't think that is a legal pit stop. I think that's outside of the pit window.
They've not got a penalty.
No penalty. Okay. Nope. Interesting. So maybe Rob can get onto that one then, the 466 car in. Rob has updated me on Ryan Bensley as well. Ryan Bensley had contact earlier on, and they had to bring him in to get damage to the bodywork sorted. So yes, I think that's why he came in early. That wasn't actually the planned pit stop, but that's one of the good things about these really long pit windows. Even if you do have to come in unplanned, you can turn that into a mandatory stop without having to worry too much about things like fuel strategy.
Yeah, exactly that. So you can sort of ebb and flow. Managed to avoid every Citroen C1, so well done, as he has a lovely vantage point over there on the inside of the circuit. These four continue line astern, as Andy, you seem to be pondering a tad.
I'm just going to correct myself, actually. That was a second stop for Bensley, because they're down in 22nd. They should have been somewhere inside the top 5, shouldn't they? So that was actually a second pit stop before the hour. So actually it was an unscheduled stop, and that will cost them, because they will still have to come in at some point in the next hour.
Yeah, exactly, and we're still unsure as to the 466 as to what their escapades are as well, because that was within seconds of the second pit window opening, so we'll have to send a certain Mr. Lewis down there to find out some details for us. Drivers continuing to battle on then, as we say. Difficult to spot out the sort of, say, individual battles out there on circuit, but plenty in terms of switching for track position, if nothing else, with drivers on slightly different laps. There is the 4-2-1 at the bottom of your shot, your race leader, as someone else dives to pit lane from this gaggle of cars behind us as well. So still about 8 seconds between that 4-2-1 Alpha Trojan you saw at the bottom of your shot. That must mean the 300 is here. There they are, getting properly stuck in up the inside of one and almost into the back of another as they try and carry the momentum there down through Red Gate once more. So already then, second pit window's open and a few teams already diving to said pit lane. The driver from the sharp end of the order was the Morwin Motorsport with Driven Minds car. The 399, I think the first to make the first pit stop in this second window of pit stops. Was the first one to make it once we had ticked below 2 hours. One dove in just before though, and we'll have to work out why Cat DT did exactly that. Was it an issue, or were they simply not quite on the bubble with the time there? A few seconds early maybe. We'll try and find out for you. But as you can see from that camera shot, a lot of teams now feeding in.
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, early pit stops seem to be the order of the day. As you say, just get it out of the way in case you end up with a pit stop, especially now that we don't have a minimum pit stop time in this series, because you can get in and out potentially without losing a lap. So it's always the danger of pitting early, isn't it? If you lose a lap and then get a safety car, it can be hard sometimes to get that back, but that's not such an issue if you can get back out there within, what, a minute and a half or so, given the fact that the leaders are lapping in the 1 minute 36s or 37s at the moment. The leader is 7.9 seconds clear at the moment at the front of the field. Sid Smith doing his best in second position. He's keeping the Charlie Bingham Trojan Motorsport car at bay. There goes the leader just out of shot. The green car on the inside line is second. The yellow and green car a few cars back, also on the inside line, is in third position. And I think they've got a decent little lead now over fourth position, which is once again the Silver Lake Racing car of Blake Anglis, because of Ryan Bensley's extra pit stop. So Blake Anglis moves up into fourth position in the 4.58. That car only qualified 12th, which I was a bit surprised at. Blake Anglis had a big spin down at the old hairpin during that qualifying session, so potentially could have gone quicker had it not been for that, and he's now really starting to show the pace that he's got. Blake Anglis then in fourth, but a long way back from the top three. The top three are exiting the old hairpin, and the fourth place car hasn't yet. In fact, has only just crossed the line, and in fact, there's a good battle for fourth going on. It's just heading into Redgate Corner now. The Silver Lake car of Blake Anglis has got that 311 machine, which was the TGR racing car, the Haberman car, right behind it. That's a genuine battle for fourth position, but it's taking place some 53 seconds off the lead of the race.
Indeed, indeed. Interesting to watch then, as we see the drivers continue on through. Yeah, battles up and down the order, but of course we'll have some battles going on with other battles that are much further up the order, but happening on the same piece of tarmac, as drivers on taking laps out of each other now, as we're now well over an hour into this race. I was trying to work out as well if that Angelis is the same Angelis family that races in Ginettas as well. It is. It is. Okay, cool. I thought as much. I remember G-Fest like 2 years ago commentating over them, and the name suddenly popped up in my mind. Okay, it is. So moving over from, or at least they've done lots of racing in Ginettas. They're trying their hand at C1s, and they're going pretty well at it at the moment. Well, Trojan Motorsport are into the pits. They've decided to call it early then, as we thought. Much earlier than the first window even. Less than 5 minutes into this second window. And once again, two Trojan teams sort of splitting the strategy. Trojan Motorsport going in very early in this one, as I say, before even the 5-minute mark of this second hour of the race. And Alpha Trojan just staying out for that little bit longer. Same for the car in between them as well, the BPC tyre buffing car. And I think I know what's happened there. Trojan Motorsport have come up behind the blob car and gone, oh, I can't overtake them. Into the pits I go.
You've got to show the blob the respect they deserve, haven't you? And good to see Trojan are very much doing that. Silver Lake have pitted. Yes, they have. Blake Anglis has pitted. Blake Anglis, British GT racer these days, so he's graduated on from Ginetta into GT racing proper. He has pitted. Out of the pit lane goes the Trojan Motorsport 301 car, which interestingly is pitted before the 421 this time. We'll try and get to the bottom of that strategic choice, but we do have an update on the 466 car, I believe, in the pit lane. This was the Cat driver training car. We're back down there for a second time, and with the update is Rob Lewis.
I think I put the commentator's curse on this car, unfortunately, after we had that lovely interview with Colin Hode. Marcus brought the car in. In his words, the steering went stiff. He couldn't steer it at all. All the lights came up on the dash. They've got some sort of electrical issue. Now, looking around the front of the car where the team are working now, they've even got the battery out. They've got all sorts out. It could be a faulty earth they're looking at. It could be absolutely anything. All we know is it's electrical of some sort. Could be alternator, could be battery. We don't know. But as Mark said, that's us out. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Rob. So what the issue is exactly, we don't know, but it's broke. Something electrical, and that potentially is going to take them out of the race altogether. So we're an hour and a bit into this third round of the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series. Alpha Trojan have the lead by now, nearly 11 seconds. So over the last few laps, John, that gap has really shot out back to Sid Smith in second position. That's by far the biggest that gap has been so far.
Indeed. Lots to keep an eye on then, as again, our job may be made even more challenging with drivers diving into pit lane, and now this is really where it becomes challenging to work out who's actually given us 2 stops, who's just had a penalty through the race so far. We'll work it out for you then as we watch our race leaders heading down the back straight once again. Now a 10-second gap between the top 2, so the 421. The Alpha Trojan car has been continuing to hammer on in this race. They have been consistently in the 36s. They did a 36 dead on the lap before this one. They've just popped in a 36.3, so even cutting through the traffic, they've been super quick so far in this stint. Not quite down into the 35s, just yet. But no other team has got into the 35s at any point in this race. And like I was saying, 2 laps ago, they did a 36 dead. That would have been the second fastest time of the race so far. Still well clear of everyone else. And they're doing that kind of pace consistently whilst passing traffic. Unbelievably impressive from the Alpha Trojan team as they now extend that gap to almost 12 seconds.
Wow, yeah, it suddenly started shooting out by quite some margin. Sid Smith is in traffic, in fairness. I've just seen him going past our commentary position a few seconds ago. Sid definitely is losing time courtesy of the traffic, but it's also a really strong pace being run by the Alpha Trojan car then, which heads up into McLean's corner and has no real traffic around it. Where is Sid Smith? We should see him momentarily coming up the hill into McLean's corner. No, not just yet, but he is 11.6 seconds back at the beginning of the lap. And it looks like it's going to take a bit of a miracle for them to stop Alpha Trojan, isn't it? Alpha Trojan, whoops,
bit of a wobble there as he tried to get past the back marker. I think just the back marker moved over ever so slightly and it spooked him a little bit, but thankfully, room given, all fine.
Indeed so. Trojan Motorsport have won twice here at Donington Park over the years, but Alpha Trojan yet to do so. They were second last time out at Silverstone, Alpha Trojan, and they'd love to get one over on their teammates as they come across the line. But remember, the 301 Trojan car's already pitted for a second time, so this is different because they all pitted within a lap or two of each other, that lead group last time. Not the case this time around, is it? Alpha Trojan choosing to go long, and I think that is because they've got the track position advantage. They're not really being held up in traffic. There's no need to come in yet, and right now they're taking chunks out of everyone else. They've just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:35.8. So yeah, why bring them in?
Yeah, my point was just about to be, and they've got the pace to back it up, haven't they? Why would you bring in a driver who's consistently faster than the rest of the field and now putting in the fastest lap of the race so far? Why would you bring him in? Leave him out there. He is smashing this stint so far. And why not just keep Mr. Freeman out there behind the wheel, and as he continues to make his way past a couple of Batman, he's going to make it 3 wide there, isn't he? He's going to try to, over the grass there on the inside. They do manage to find their way through, just about enough room given, as he's now chasing down that CEX car to put another lap on them as well. But yeah, this pace, electric from the Alpha Trojan car out in the lead, and it just seems as though the BPC tyre buffing car just does not have the answer to it. Like you said, the BPC car, Sid Smith, picking their way through the traffic. So is the Alpha Trojan car. We can see that on our screens now. They're just doing it seemingly a little bit more concisely. And overall, I think the driver behind the wheel just has that little bit more pace at the moment. And yeah, they're continuing to extend the lead up front. Now almost 15 seconds between the top two. Of course, we lost third. So now the driver in third, 48 seconds then behind second place. So there's over a minute now between the top three. As oh dear, another off-track excursion. It's the 487 this time, who heads off-piste there. That's the MH Racing with SCR car in 18th place. So just a little hop and a skip through the gravel, but they make it back onto the circuit to fight another day. Oh, there's another one off in the gravel, this time down at Old Hairpin. Who was that? Was that the 345 that I spot? I couldn't quite see who that was.
It is an Emax car. It's 345 or 343, both of them Emax cars. So you might well be right with 345. And they have again bounced through the gravel trap. It's remarkable how many people I've seen go wide at Redgate Corner over the course of this race, but it's again one of those corners where you're tempted sometimes into carrying a bit too much speed in and washing out wide. The Old Hairpin is a more common place to see people run wide, in fairness, but for whatever reason the C1 Redgate is catching people out as well. Sid Smith is in. Sid Smith from second position then in the green BPC tyre buffing car, so he's given up his pursuit of Alpha Trojan. And he's going to hand back over to his dad, I would imagine. He and Rob, I think, are the only two drivers in the 300 car. Yes, they are. And Rob Smith, former touring car driver. Sid has made a name for himself in one-make Porsche racing, both in the UK and further afield. And is it Sid still in the car? Back on their way they go. It is still showing as Sid Smith, but it might just take a moment for that to update. So we'll confirm that in a moment or two. He heads out of Redgate Corner as the car he was chasing heads into the chicane. So it's about half a lap that you lose with a reasonably quick pit stop, which again opens up that strategy massively because there's no real danger of falling a lap down. Leader coming in. The leader is in. 4-2-1 then to the pit lane after what's been, you have to say, a fantastic stint here for that squad. Chris Freeman will hand back over to Jonathan Monday here, I think, but Chris should be very, very happy with the pace that he showed.
What a stint from Chris Freeman. That was I thought that was Rob Lewis for a second there, going to help out the team. What a stint from Mr. Freeman. That was fantastic. A brilliant pace. And he's going to get back in, funnily enough. Of course he is. They think, mate, you're flying. Get back in that car right now and head back out on circuit. And he's going to continue looking to lead this race for the Alpha Trojan team. Yeah, you were speaking about these T1s just getting invited off into the gravel trap down at T1. And I've got to say as well, from a driver's perspective, yeah, it is tough when you go a little bit wide through there. It's very difficult to keep it out of the gravel because although from our camera positions here around the circuit, with how they're sort of placed beside the circuit and at a similar height to the circuit, that green runoff looks massive. I can tell you when you're in the car, it feels absolutely tiny. You go off the exit curb on the green, suddenly you're in the gravel, and as soon as you dip two wheels, it just drags you off and further wide. And that's why any of these cars just slightly messing up that T1, they're going to get dragged off piste, and really the only aim is don't get stuck. We've seen a few being successful and a few less so.
Indeed so. Alpha Trojan, though, they've been pretty successful. They're back underway. They head out of sight down the hill as Sid Smith went into Redgate Corner. I'd say that's still about a 10-second advantage or so that they've got. It is still Sid Smith, apparently. There is Sid in the 300 car. Still Sid in that car then, chasing down Alpha Trojan. And still showing as being in third position because, of course, they've built up such a lead over everybody else that actually the top three can pit at any point without really falling massively down the running order. The 301 car, by the way, is 8 seconds behind Smith. So, again, they've kept Charlie Bingham in that car for this stint. So, no driver changes, interestingly, among the leading contenders that time. And the gaps, I think, have stayed largely as they were. Maybe, well, actually, definitely, BPC tyre buffing have gained time over the 301 Trojan Motorsport car. I wonder whether they've also gained time on Alpha Trojan. We'll get a read on that gap at the end of this lap.
Yeah, so all three of those top teams, as you say, not changing driver, all three of them only two driver squads as well. So yes. Clearly splitting it into their respective stints. But of course, how they how they draw that line down the middle. Is it down the middle is the question. Do you give one driver a little bit more if they're maybe a little bit better at, say, I don't know, race starts, or maybe another driver's a bit better at picking their way through the traffic? And that's, again, you've got to be sort of open to changing that strategy through the race as well. Depending on how things play out, you might just need to move things around ever so slightly. As you say, with fuel, that's kind of, we kind of stick to what you decide before the race, but in terms of drivers, maybe that might switch up during the race, which could change things as well. The hashtag Blessed car heads back out of the pits there. You can see them there in the bottom right hand corner of your screen as these two continue on side by side. Aggressive from the sort of Gulf looking liveried car there of the 311. They are into second place now with the TGR Racing squad, but of course they're the only one of our top 4 at the moment yet to give us a pit stop.
Yes, they were battling with the Silver Lake car, weren't they? Where is the Silver Lake car after that round of pit stops? I don't actually see them. The 558, wasn't it? Yeah, 12. They're well down the order after that second stop. So it was a long pit stop for Silver Lake Racing. That's maybe something for Rob Lewis to try and find out for us. They've lost a whole heap of time compared to those around, I think. Although, of course, 311 yet to stop. So maybe we'll wait until that car comes out onto the track before we start panicking too much about Silver Lake. They will, though, have the BPC tyre buffing car closing in on them. That is a battle for position. But as we've said, 311 with a pit stop still to be served. So Alpha Trojan are already back into the lead of the race. They've now got a 17-second lead over Sid Smith in the BPC car. So that gap went out by about 6 or 7 seconds after that latest round of pit stops. So Alpha Trojan are absolutely smashing it in the pit lane.
They're flying, aren't they? Not only are they smashing in the pit lane, they're smashing out on track as well. A match made in heaven there for that team, and they're doing everything absolutely perfectly for the moment. Let's see if that continues. Still an hour and 45 minutes left to go for things to change. There they are, down into Red Gate once more goes the Alpha Trojan team, and they still do have that fastest lap of the race as well, a 35.8. And again, 36.3 on the last lap, still consistently in the low 36s. What amazing race so far this is from Mr. Freeman as he's trying. Oh, he's off on the gravel, he's off on the grass, sorry, on the outside there as they headed down the hill. Oh, that would have been a bit of a scary moment. Maybe not for him, maybe he thought he had that all sorted, but certainly the team members seeing that dust kicked up would have thought, oh my goodness, as they watch the live stream. But don't worry, guys, he's kept it on the straight and narrow. He does get past the back marker and he lives to fight another day. Whew, thank goodness.
That could so easily have been disaster though, couldn't it? That's not a good place to be dipping a wheel onto the grass, but yeah, really good job there to gather the car up. So Freeman's still in that car, as we've said. We did have a driver change on the 301 though, I think, didn't we? That was, no, yes, 301 has had a driver change, actually. Adam Willis then, I said a moment ago, Charlie Bingham was still in the car, but that's now updated on the timing screen, so that is now Adam Willis in that car, and he is 6.4 seconds back from Sid Smith. I noticed a lap ago he was also in the 36s though, so more or less matching the pace of the sister car out in front, the Alpha Trojan machine, so that car maybe is going to start coming back into play. So maybe just under a 50-50 split as far as who has pitted and who hasn't, but for now the leaders are all into their third stint of the race, things calming down ever so slightly, so let's take this opportunity to head back down into the pits for an update from Rob.
So I've managed to grab some celebrities down here in the pit lane. Those of you that know among the C1 fraternity know that hashtag Blessed is, of course, because of fans of Lewis Hamilton. And, of course, those that know Formula One know that he has an accomplice this year. So, Kim, what do you think of our first C1 race? Any comments on the race going on at the moment? No, like Martin Brundle's grid walk, I suppose. Back to you guys.
Very good, Rob, very good. You made the joke at exactly the same time John did next to me off mic, that she was still not giving us that much insight into her opinions on motor racing, as was the case in, was it Monaco? No, it was Silverstone, wasn't it, I think? One of those anyway, where Martin tried to interview her. Careful she doesn't steal a towel from you, Rob. I don't know whether you've got one on you. If you have, I would keep it under lock and key.
Well, we're hashtag blessed to have Rob Lewis in the pit lane. What a legend.
Yes, I suppose so. I don't agree with the whole hashtagging. Oh, you won't be surprised to hear that. I'm a grumpy old man, really.
We know, Andy. You don't need to tell us that. Who is bringing the cardboard cutouts? Are they bringing them to every race?
What do they do with them between races? Where do they store them? I'd like to say in the garage with the car, but I can sort of imagine them in the corner of a living room somewhere. And it's a good conversation starter if you have friends and family over, I suppose.
I guess. Don't go in that room. That's the Kim and Lewis room.
Yeah, they've asked for some privacy.
Bit of an odd one, yeah. Anyway, great to hear from Rob, as always, giving us all the gossip from the pit lane. We look back to our race leader. There they are, the 4-2-1, and it's still Mr. Freeman behind the wheel, absolutely motoring on yet again. Another mid-36 from the last lap. And you've got to compare the drivers around them. If you look further down the order, okay, they've gone a bit faster on the last lap, but both BPC tyre buffing and TGR Racing then in third. Of course, they're still owing us that next pit stop. Both down in the low 37 still, while the Alpha Trojan was in the mid 36s. And then just behind them, the Trojan Motorsport car, a low 38 on that lap. So a second and a half on that lap alone.
And I can see why out of the window, because they're in a lot of traffic. They had 3 cars to negotiate on that lap. They've now cleared them, but yes, that will have been costing them time. And this is why the timing screen is useful, but you've got to always take what it says with a bit of a pinch of salt. If someone has a really slow lap, it's not necessarily a reason to panic. It's probably just that they came across some back markers who maybe weren't going quite as quickly as them. But yes, that is a very comfortable lap time that they're running now that they're back into clean air. They are 6.2 seconds behind now the 311 car, which is in third place. We can see on the screen they have now been overtaken by Sid Smith for second place, but again, they are on differing pit strategies.
Indeed they are. Just seen blob someone up the inside into T1. They're still motoring on. A cheeky position on track at least gained, if nothing else. There is the 300 in second place. So around, what is it now, 20 seconds off of your race leader of the 421. But they do have the 311 hot on their heels now. The TGR Racing squad, as we say, they're still owing us their second pit stop here and across this second hour of racing here for the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series. But okay, they owe us a pit stop. They're still there in position. They're still more than welcome to battle here with the 300. And if they do decide to battle here with the 300, I'm interested to see whether 300 do sort of down their tools and settle in, because they might be told that the 311 needs to come in anyway, so just relax. And equally, if they start battling with the 311, they're just going to lose even more time to the race leaders of the 421. And once again, now they have officially gone 20 seconds clear, have the Alpha Trojan out front. So interested to see how this one plays out from both of the drivers, really, is how they decide to deal with this situation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? It was a good lap that for Sid Smith, actually, a 36.7, but then I looked and saw that the leaders had done a 35.9, which was 8 tenths quicker, so it was a decent lap that for Sid, but unfortunately for him, the leader going even more quickly. 345 Emax Motorsport, they were the car we saw in the gravel trap down at the old hairpin earlier on, and I know that because they're now in the garage with a hole in the radiator courtesy of that gravel that got in places where it wasn't supposed to be. So that's an update from Rob Lewis. Thanks for the info. It was 345 that went off, and that is one of the things that could happen as the 311 flirts with disaster themselves over the top of the hill. But if you go through the gravel, okay, it's annoying, you lose time, the tyres get a bit dirty, but actually it can have much more long-lasting effects than that. That gravel really does get everywhere, and it can cause significant damage.
Yeah, as we've seen then, what a shame, as they spend a bit more time in the pits than they would have been hoping to. We saw there the 311, yeah, really cranking on the steering lock up and over Coppice, but that sort of seems to be how you need to take that corner, really, is chuck it in over the crest, just not too much where that rear end comes out, and then you have to slide it and lose more time, as now they dive into the pits. Speaking of the pits, it's Rob Lewis time once again. Down to you, Rob.
Well, unfortunately, I tried to grab a word with the evangelist, the leader of the Silver Lake team and of, well, Silver Lake himself, Alan Preble. He's in the shower at the moment, and due to Ofcom regulate, no one wants to see that. So I've managed to grab one of the team managers, Greg Rose, here. Greg, first of all, great to see you. We did see you on the grid walk earlier on, the pit lane walk earlier on. How are the cars going so far?
Going very well. Yep, everything up to plan so far. Don't see any problems.
And 3 cars this weekend, because you kind of got a semi-works effort going on with the Snail Speed team.
Yeah, they're doing well. They haven't been out for a little while with that car, so brought it out for this weekend.
Silver Lake Motorsport. There's been a lot going on this year with C1s, DS3 Cup, a lot of stuff going on with green parts in motorsport. Could you tell us a bit about how it affects the business?
Yeah, we're hoping it brings in, people start buying parts or using us to, to help them with the racing and everything, but it seems to be going all right so far. Word's getting out there, people know us more.
And you haven't been in the driving seat for a while now.
No.
You've got the boot on. What's going on there?
That's still healing. I'm going to be in this boot for another month or two now, and then I'll be back out.
Are we going to see Greg Rose appear before the end of the year?
Oh yeah, I'll be out again. Yeah.
I'll put you down for Snetterton. Great to see you, Greg. It's always a good point to come down and speak to the Silver Lake team because these guys work absolutely flat out. They sponsor the C1 series and they put a lot of hard work, effort, time and money into it. So, yeah, big shout out to the sponsors for the series. We'll let Alan get dried off and then I'll hand back to the commentary team.
Good idea, Rob. So, yeah, good updates from down in the pit lane from Rob Lewis. I'm sure that will be the last time we hear from him as we tick towards the halfway point now in this Silver Lake C1 Racing Series race. 21.8 second lead all of a sudden for Alpha Trojan. This middle portion of the race, the middle hour, has all been about them, hasn't it? They have massively gained on their competitors. They are 21.7 seconds ahead of Sid Smith. Oh, it is Rob Smith in the BPC tyre car. Again, the HUTAG system a little bit slow to update on a couple of these cars. So it's Rob Smith now into the second placed car. Not going quite as quickly maybe as Sid was, and so dropping away slightly from the leader and perhaps into the clutches of Trojan Motorsports 301 car. That gap only 5.8 seconds at the moment. MDA are up into 4th, but owes a pit stop, as do James Stocks & Co, who are back into 5th. 6th place for Has Been Racing. 7th for Meadens Motorsport, also owing us a second pit stop. TGR Racing's 311 car on your screen is in 8th position, but that we believe will become 4th once everyone else pits. 330 is in 9th, and the top 10 completed at the moment by AF Racing in the 427. Right, we mentioned Emax Motorsports radiator woes earlier on. Rob Lewis has more on that subject.
So you can see the Emax Motorsport car behind me, 345. That went for a little rally crossing through the old hairpin gravel. That's not really good for these cars, so it's had a few stones through the radiator, unfortunately. But I have got our old friend Glenn Finn here, who's out in the car himself this weekend. So as well as running these cars as Emax, you're giving it a go yourself.
Yes, yeah, very much so. So just for half an hour, my son and I are going to have a go. Hopefully it will last. The radiator's fine. Gravel just dislodged the alternator belt, so we're putting a new one on now, put it all back together, and tentative couple of laps to see if it's okay, and if so, I'll stay out there for my half an hour stint. So yeah, we'll have a bit of fun, a bit of play. It's nice to be on that side of the wall, because then I'm going to worry about any of this stuff that goes on. It's not my problem then. So
it's not just C1s you've been involved in over the years. You've raced for such a long time. Give us a bit of an insight into your background.
Okay, so rallying to start with in the 90s, and then bit of hill climbing, and then we got into circuit racing in saloon cars, and then I did Formula Fords for about 10 years. Then a little bit of Ginetta racing, bought a couple of radicals, then managed to lose the bug of racing altogether for 6 months, and then bought one C1, then 2, and I think we're on 17 at the moment. So I've got 17 various spec racing cars, C1s, and a couple of Clio Cup cars as well. So
sounds like an odd number though, a rookie number. You need to bump those numbers up, right?
20's nice. Yeah. 20, yeah. So I think we need to get a couple more. It's become an obsession, a real obsession. But it's great series, great circuit. 40, 59 cars today. So yeah, if we can keep that going, that'd be great. Someone to race against. But love the longer events. We've got 24 hours in a couple of weeks' time. 24 hours mid-August as well. So yeah, still a long way to go in the season.
All over Europe as well.
Yeah, we were in Portugal racing on a street circuit last week. Azolder before that, Manacor. I've got Portugal in December, Spa-Francorchamps. So we're literally European-wide. We kind of bridge the UK gap to the European guys, and it's great to race with them. But it's a whole new way of racing over there, so it's wonderful. And it just makes our season get longer and longer. So therefore, we're racing 12 months of the year now.
Fantastic. Well, as always, Glenn, it's good to see you. Enjoy your half an hour stint.
I'll get in there and see what happens.
Enjoy your half an hour stint out into the car. Right, if you'll stay with us, we're just going to have a little bit of a wander. So, Team Insane, unfortunately, our team, we spoke to them in qualifying. They didn't have a very good time. So, we might just leave them to cool off a bit. They did have a 5-minute stop-go penalty. However, and just typically, they've gone missing. But let's see if I could just grab someone here for a chat. We've got someone who's racing here for the first time this weekend. I'll just grab a chat. We're live on the live stream at the moment. I have got, we'll stand at the front of the garage just so we don't run out of signal. We've got none other Ben Atkinson. Fantastic to have you here in the C1 series. This is your first event, right?
It is, yeah. No, it's been really exciting. My first race probably pretty much ever. So I'm a complete novice, but it's been a great experience. You know, just learning the track, learning the car, and trying not to keep it, you know, out the wall, basically.
And obviously your dad races a lot of historics as well. That's the end goal for you, to go racing and do a bit of Goodwood, right?
That's the hope, yeah. Dad's got a Mark 7 Jag. So to race it next year at Goodwood with him would be awesome. But to race at Goodwood, you've got to be not a novice. So I'm trying to get, you know, the experience and a bit of racecraft as well, and then go from there.
And you've picked the C1s to do it in. So you did the opening stint there today?
I did, yeah.
How was it?
It was good, it was good. Like, I think made up a few places at the start, and then just trying to stay out the way of the fast guys behind.
Yes, and what's the plan moving forward with the C1? Because you are going to do a few more events with us. You can't obviously 100%. Make Snetterton, but you're planning sort of looking into next year.
100%, yeah. So we're looking at Remembrance in November, and definitely 24 Hour next year. That'll be awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I'll let you get back to it. A pleasure to have you on the C1 series, and we'll see you at the future rounds. Thank you for much. So, we've got safety car out on track at the moment. We might have to hand back out to the commentary team. Hopefully, they've got a shot of why we've got a safety car. And if you need any info, let me know. I'll bring it to you.
Thank you, Rob. Well, I think we know why there's a safety car. We've got a cameraman down, I think, on the Coppice corner based on that shot. The Meadens car, which was battling for... Oh, wrong car. The leader's gone. Never mind. Yes, the Meadens Motorsport car started dropping down the order. They were battling for a position inside the top 10 at the time, but I think that might be the reason that we have gone safety car, because we heard they were in a gravel trap. Yep, there they are at the chicane. That's a shame. They led briefly by going long in that first round of pit stops, and they are now in the gravel trap. Now, this will change things a little bit in the race, because we've got 2/3 of the field maybe who have made 2 pit stops, another third therefore who haven't. Now okay, they've still got 28.5 minutes to make the pit stop. They won't do it behind the safety car, because if you pit behind the safety car it's a 5-minute minimum pit stop time that you have to adhere to, but this bunches the field together, so those who have pitted and had dropped half a lap or so to those who hadn't will gain back most if not all of that time, won't they? So this is a significant moment in the context of the race. It will benefit some people more than others. It won't necessarily affect the leaders because they'd all pitted anyway, but further down this could be decisive in some of the midfield battles.
It really could. Of course, we said earlier about the fact that if you pit under the safety car, it's a minimum of a 5-minute pit stop. My assumption is that as long as you've made it into the pit lane before the safety car is called, correct, you can just do a normal pit stop and that's fine. So actually, if you manage to bail to the pits just before the safety car's called, you're actually going to gain quite a bit of time, aren't you? But then by that point, you just got to leave it and you've got to wait until this safety car clears. But then again, by the time it clears, we might have 15 minutes left or something. You're not going to have quite as much time to come in, and if you do decide to come in straight as we go back to green flag, of course, all the field's going to be bunched up together, so you might end up losing way more time and positions that you would have done prior. So potential that some of the teams will have been keeping an eagle eye as to what's going on circuit, will have seen that car in the gravel and shouted down the comms at their driver, pit now, pit now, pit now, to get in before that safety car comes out. That could have been quite a decent strategy. But yeah, as we saw, sadly, the safety car just missing the leading car, and the Alpha Trojan continues on. So that might extend this safety car period by a lap or two.
Yes, I suspect it might do. There's only one car in the pit lane at the moment, which is the 536, the W3 Endurance car. MDA lost 3 positions on that lap, interestingly, behind the safety car, so they fell from 9th to 12th in the 550 car. I'm not sure what that was all about. They must have had an issue somewhere out on circuit, but anyway, bunches the field together, and of course it means that 30, well, it was 20 odd seconds, I think, wasn't it, advantage for Alpha Trojan in theory, provided they do a wave around at some point to put the leader back behind the safety car. That should be eradicated and bring the leading group back together. Fingers crossed. It's a shame we haven't picked up the leader behind the safety car, but hopefully Race Control will do something about that. make sure that the entire field is brought under control, and yeah, it should give us some interesting battles once the race resumes.
Well, of course, Alpha Trojan were the last car. They were the last car to not be picked up. So you'd think they'd then be at the back of the train. So surely the entirety of the rest of the 47 cars need to go by to then get the leader back again. So that's going to be less than ideal.
Yeah, they still haven't actually come across the line, I don't think, Alfred. Oh, they just did. There they are. They've just gone past our commentary position, so they've just tagged onto the back of the queue. Yeah, I can see why. You know, if I were Alpha Trojan, obviously because I'm a decent human being, and I realised the safety car had come out just behind me, I'd be tempted to slow down and let the safety car go by. That's why I'm a commentator, not a racing driver. John is shaking his head disapprovingly at me, because any opportunity to gain an advantage, even if there's a good chance that race control will redress the situation eventually, you've got to take it, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Race control aren't going to be too happy with you. You've raced off and not sat behind the safety car as was hoped. But, yeah, as we say, any sort of benefit that you can get for your team, you're going to go for it. And if you're coming down the pit straight, the safety car comes out and they don't specifically get in front of you, they let you go past, crack on, mate. Join the back of the queue and make them do it, because it is on the onus of everyone behind the scenes at BRSCC to get out in front of the race leader. If they haven't been able to do that, it's not on you to sit behind and do the job for them. So you drive off to the back of the queue. Let's see if they do end up doing the full wave around, because as we say, that's going to take some time if we do end up doing that. If they don't end up doing that, then what a stroke of genius from the Alpha Trojan driver, because they've just gained basically a free lap.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a shame for the neutrals, but yes, they have gained a chunk of time. It's not actually going to be probably only half a lap, really, because there are so many cars between them and the safety car. By the time we get everyone back up to speed, they'll probably only be about half a lap ahead of the rest of the queue. But yes, I take your point. They have definitely gained a huge amount of time. The BMW safety car, which is a Silver Lake recovery car, Rob was telling me. It was they bought it from their own auction or something. I'm sure he's got a story about the safety car that he can maybe tell in a bit more detail, but yeah, that's been recovered by Silver Lake themselves and turned into a safety car for this race, and is getting its first appearance. I said that we'd never had a safety car free race here at Donington Park, and that continues again here in 2026. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come, as it was last year when we had 5 safety car periods. To be fair, we'd had a couple by this point, I seem to recall, before we got to the end of the second hour, which is still actually 23 minutes away. We're only just into the second half of the race.
It was a little bit more damp last time out.
True, yes.
Which does often lead to more safety cars, we find. Yeah, I mean, we've not seen anyone upside down yet. So what are they doing? Pull their fingers out.
You had to say that. Remember your wheel tangling comment in the Formula Ford race, John?
And how well did that go?
Yes, exceedingly well. How many cars ended up in walls? Well, let's not go there. Anyway, yes, you are right. Good driving standards in this one so far. A few grassy moments, but considering the vast array of experience and ability out there on circuit in your average C1 Series race, it is impressive that we've gone this long without needing a safety car, and this is just a solo car in a gravel trap up the chicane. In fact, there is the car. It's already back in the pit lane. So yeah, really good driving standards on the whole.
Yeah, I've been really impressed, to be fair, really impressed, because, of course, not only are the leading drivers coming through and picking their way through the back markers, but also as well, those drivers who are slightly slower still picking their way through. And again, you've got to think about the drivers who are further down the order, who are themselves being overtaken. Now, of course, the onus is on the overtaking driver. You've just got to be predictable and stay on your lines. But still, if you're not a very experienced driver, then keeping out of the way of the traffic as they get past can be pretty overwhelming in and of itself. So fair play to everyone out there. They've all been doing a stellar job.
These cars are going quickly, but we are not yet under green flag conditions, which tells me we've had a wave around, which is exactly the right thing to do. It's going to take a couple of minutes for everyone to get back onto terms with the leading queue, but they are being waved past the safety car. At least half of them have. I'm not convinced everyone's had the memo yet, because there's now a big gap, and there is the safety car. There's one driver stubbornly refusing to overtake the safety car. Understandably, I suppose, you don't want to pick up a penalty, but 20-odd other cars have just done it in front of you, so it's probably okay. It's the 460 car, which is... yeah, well, yes, I am. DD Racing, who are refusing to go past the pace car. I'm not sure who's in that car at the moment. They're a long way down. Well, are they a long way down the order? 460. 34th place for DD Racing, and it's David Horton. Wasn't he this is going to be a reference you possibly won't get. Wasn't David Horton a character in The Vicar of Dibley? I'm sure he was the lead counsellor or something that had a thing for the vicar. I'm really casting my mind back to my childhood here, but I'm sure that was David Horton. I realise they will not be the same person, clearly, because that was a fictional character. I'm not completely losing touch with reality, but anyway, he's refusing. He was a stickler for the rules, though. That was the thing. David Horton was a stickler for the rules, hence his regular clashes with... anyway, Rob, save me, please. Interview. Oh, they're not ready yet. Excellent news. Excellent news. Right, I think the message has now got through to David Horton, who may or may not be the counsellor for a small village in the south of England, and he has now decided to go past the BMW safety car, and eventually the Alpha Trojan car will be able to pick up the safety car, and we'll go racing again, and not a moment too soon. Right, Robbie's ready down in the pit lane to bring a level of sanity back to the broadcast. Rob, go for it.
There's a rather noisy Ryanair flies overhead. I've got a Ryan with me, Ryan Bensley. A new Toyota driver as well. You've just come out after your first stint. And I must say, I'm interviewing the most successful British touring car driver in terms of C1 wins, right?
Cookie will be happy about that, won't he? And Jade, and Aidan, and Tom.
Definitely. The list goes on, but statistically, you are the man.
I'm a C1 driver that does a bit of touring cars, maybe.
Well, the news came out during the week. So first of all, congratulations. You are in the Toyota for the rest of the year. First of all, a bit of reaction to that.
Yeah, it was obviously a last-minute thing. Shame that Max obviously can't continue, but he's done a stellar job, I think, given the short amount of racing that he's done. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity with Speedworks, Grow the Racing, to jump in the seat and finish the rest of the year. We'll see how we go.
Let's talk C1s then. How did that first stint go? You've had a bit of a ribbon from Josh Cook already. Bit of contact on the front left. What happened?
I had a lot of text messages from Josh after that happened. Just caught a back marker coming out of turn one. He just come back across the track and just had nowhere to go. It was just one of them things. It's probably one of the only incidents I've had in C1 racing, to be fair, which, given the amount of cars and how competitive it is probably a testament to the driving standards in the championship, I think. So,
to be fair, it happens to the best of us.
It happens to the worst of us as well, doesn't it? so yeah, but it's a great series. Like, we all love doing it. To come here and you've got all levels of drivers in this, and it's not easy. It's very competitive. There's rarely people just turn up and are quick in one of these. It can take a little while to get your head around how to drive them, but it's a great series, and we all love doing it. You know, the 24-hour that I've done with Josh, Jade and Ollie, it was such a good event. We loved it.
So much so you won it.
Yeah. We didn't even have any chairs. You know, we didn't hardly any prep on the car. Just turned up. Car felt good, you know. So we just everything just seemed to go right for us. You know, 4 quick drivers, fairly consistent, stayed out of trouble. Good event.
Fantastic. Well, Ryan, it's great to see you, sir. Any more stints today, or is that you done?
No, that's me done. We've got Andy in the car at the minute, and then David will go out afterwards. And finish off. I don't know where we are. We obviously dropped back a bit after the damage, so not ideal, but hopefully we can claw a few more places up.
Fantastic. Well, I'll let you get on and get refreshed up, and hopefully we can get this safety car back in, a bit of clean up around the circuit. I did see the Meaden's car come in, get all the gravel washed up and head back out onto the circuit, so that's a good thing. Bit of an update on the Emax car, the 345, that had the radiator trouble. That's now having an engine change, so I think things have gone bad to worse there. I really feel for those guys. They put every effort in. For now, back to the commentary team.
Right then, John Ratcliffe, explain yourself.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. I have tempted fate and it has joined us. But as I just said to you, before we jump back on the mic, was this not under the safety car?
Yes, it was under the safety car. This is the wave around, isn't it? Drivers having to go quite quickly to catch up to the safety car, because of course a C1 at flat chat is going to take a while to catch up even to a slow-moving safety car, and someone's got it a little bit wrong down at the old hairpin. I don't know who it is for definite, but I have a suspicion. I'm not going to confirm or deny until we've got a positive ID on this car, and of course we can't do that at the moment because it's on its side in the gravel down at the old hairpin, but it shouldn't be too lengthy a recovery operation. But the longer this goes on, of course, the closer to the end of the hour we get, and that could then leave some people in trouble if they've not made their pit stop. I think we're okay. We've got just under 16 minutes of the hour still remaining, but this is the danger, isn't it, of waiting till the end of the hour to make your mandatory stop.
Yeah, exactly that. That's the danger you put yourself in. So we'll see if it ends up playing out for those teams. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. As there you go, 3-6-4, I can tell you that is, mate.
Which is who I thought it was. Do you know which team that is?
No, they were just in the pits, no?
It's Meaden's Motorsport, who brought about the safety car by going into the gravel trap at the chicane, and in their haste to try and catch back up to the safety car queue, have rolled down at the old hairpin.
Fantastic.
So they've not covered themselves in glory, really, over the last 20 minutes or so, but they've had plenty of
They've covered themselves in gravel.
They really have. all surfaces of that car are now gravel rashed, and the team have got even more work to do before we get that car back out into the race.
I was just informed as well. I was reminded last time we were here last season, this happened as well. When the drivers got waved around, someone rolled it.
Oh dear. Right, well anyway, moving on. The car is back on its wheels. It's looking a bit sorry for itself. The driver, I suspect, is feeling fairly sorry for themselves as well. But it is a fairly common occurrence in C1 racing that they fall over when they go sideways into a gravel trap, so don't panic. I'm sure that car will be back out in the race, I'm sure, at some point. They're fairly low maintenance Citroen C1s, which again is part of the appeal of them, and you can do quite a bit of cosmetic damage to them without it massively affecting performance. In fact, not unheard of for cars to complete 24-hour races without windscreens because they've been over, they've smashed the window. Often if you smash the windscreen and don't then take out the rear window, that gets blown out anyway with the air rushing through the car, so they'll deliberately smash the rear windscreen, and they'll still run competitive lap time very often. They're not sophisticated cars, Citroen C1s, but actually that's quite a good thing.
Yeah, I honestly don't imagine that actually affects the aerodynamics at all.
Not really.
Having no windows at all. And to be fair, if it's a particularly warm race, that could be quite a nice strategy.
Car is just pitted from 7th position. That's the 330 car, which is Marmoto, from inside the top 10. Now, this is under safety car. This will have to be a 5-minute pit stop. Is it a problem, or were they just getting towards, well, it can't be fuel at this point, surely, so I think they must have a problem in that car, unless, of course, they hadn't brimmed the car when they refueled it last. Either way, they've had to come in, and they're going to be in there for quite some time.
Interesting one. Yeah, because you would have thought if it is a case of just getting a bit worried behind the safety car that they won't get in, you just sort of leave it as late as you can, won't it? So surely it's got to be some sort of issue. Yeah, as you say, maybe fuel. Of course, we spoke about earlier the fact of maybe fueling it up for the start a little bit less and then chucking some fuel in earlier on in the race. So maybe it's a case of that, and now they've left it too late and they've got to dive in, or maybe it's another mechanical issue that we don't know of. But driver of the flipped car walks solemnly away from the gravel trap as his car will be dragged back to the pits, and he will have to, will he have to make the long walk, or will someone give him a lift? See how lucky he gets.
You can get a car down the surface road through the spectator area, so maybe someone will go and pick him up. I'm not so sure.
That's a long, warm walk, that is. I hope it's getting picked up.
I've seen many a driver do the walk of shame, though, from the old hairpin back up to the pit lane in front of often a packed grandstand at Redgate Corner. That always gets the crowd going. They are adding fuel to the 330 car then. So 330, which is, who did I say this was? Marmoto, wasn't it? With fuel going in. Was that the reason they pitted? Again, a tank of fuel in a C1 will get you through 2.5 hours, but there's nothing to say they had a full tank at the start of the race. They don't have to brim the car at the start of the race. They want to try and keep the weight down if possible, and so they were clearly running out of fuel, or coming close to running out of fuel. It's difficult to tell in a C1 whether you're running out of fuel because the fuel gauge is not that accurate, really. I think it's... Yes, hello. Yeah, we can hear you. I think from memory, it's 3 bars that you've got on your fuel gauge, so you can tell when you're down to the last third of the tank, but not how far into that last third you are. So the team will be calculating it roughly based on average speeds and whatnot, but better sometimes just to play it safe. And if you can start to feel the car coughing and spluttering, that means you're right at the bottom of the fuel tank.
Does it not have a light that comes on when you've got like 30 miles to go of the tank?
Maybe, yes.
That could be helpful. As soon as the light comes on, I go out and pitting, guys.
But even then, that's that you could get quite a few laps in with a 30-mile limit, couldn't you? way. So it's not that accurate, and it's something that has caught teams out before. It's quite funny in the C1 24-hour race, which I've covered a number of times in the past at Silverstone. When you're in the pit lane, you'll occasionally hear drivers going past the pits, and they'll give 1 or 2 pips of the horn. And if it's 2 pips, it means they've just gone down to bar number 2. And if it's 1 pip, it means they've got 1 bar of fuel left. And then if it's 5 or 6, then it means I'm coming in this time, I've got no fuel left. But that's the only way that they can tell the teams what's going on, because there's no ship-to-shore radio from team to driver. Race control can speak to the drivers through a radio system, but there's no radio system allowed between team and driver, so they have to communicate however they can.
Ah, right, okay. That's very different to the Fun Cup then. Of course, in the Fun Cup, it's just the same in terms of race control. It can talk to you and override any other radio communication, but no, in terms of driving, you can talk to your drivers out there. So, yeah, I guess once you're out into your stint, then you're a little bit blind as to what's going on. I was thinking earlier there might be some discussion in terms of telling drivers who they're battling with and who they aren't, but yeah, as we saw there, as Andy alludes to, no communication. So you're driving blind a little bit in terms of where you are in the order and who you're battling with. But that's why you've got to be on it as well when you're out of the car, to have as much information in your head when you jump in, so that you know exactly what is needed of you during your stint.
Yes, absolutely so. And they're very long stints normally in the 24-hour race, not so much here because we've got often 3 or 4 drivers sharing the car over 3 hours. Right, here they go. The race gets back underway, and we've got an hour and just under 10 minutes to go. So thankfully, anyone who hasn't yet made a second pit stop should now have an opportunity to do so before the hour is up. I reckon, John, we're going to see quite a lot of teams come in quite quickly if they still need to get that pit stop done, because there is an old saying, isn't there, that safety cars can often breed safety cars. You do not now want to be trapped behind the safety car. A safety car period would definitely take us over the hour mark, wouldn't it? So that would leave you needing to spend a long time in the pit lane. We have got a battle for second place on our hands as well. They're 9.2 seconds behind the leaders, these two, but Rob Smith has got the Trojan Motorsport car tucked up behind him, and at this later stage of the race, I don't think there'll be an awful lot of working together. I think Trojan will want to make this move.
Indeed, 100% they'll want to. Of course, yeah, like you say, 10 seconds between first and second, but a load of C1s in between first and second as well. So not only time to find, but also lots of track position to try and gain back as well. And as you say, yeah, the 300, the BPC tyre buffing car, has got the best push on that they can here, having third place hot on their heels as they cut their way through the traffic. Up and over the crest of Coppice once more, and they fly down the back straight. Using the slipstream as well. Yeah, as you say, will we see the Trojan Motorsport car go for it early here, the first possible opportunity, or will they push through the traffic? Because look at this, of course, the Alpha Trojan not needing to pick through any traffic. They were leading the train of the safety car. They've immediately pulled away from those 3 or 4 teams behind, as a couple do immediately bail to the pit lane, as we thought they might. But look at that, off of the restart, new fastest lap of the race off of the restart from the Alpha Trojan team, a 1:35.7. What a lap. Once again, Mr. Freeman is locked in, and for the rest of this stint, he's got lovely fresh air to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first clear air lap they've had since the opening 20 minutes or so of the race, really, and maybe even less than that, with some people pitting very early and dropping out in front of them. So, yeah, they were keen to take advantage of that. They built the gap to 10.5 seconds now to Rob Smith BPC tyre buffing car, the green machine on your screen, and right behind the Trojan Motorsport car trying to make it a Trojan 1-2. Here comes an attempted move at the old hairpin to the inside for second position then. They're absolutely door to door. Rob Smith wide over the exit curb, and is he going to be able to hang on to that position? You would suspect not. Here they come up the hill. The momentum lies with the Trojan car. There is the Silver Lake car to deal with behind. That is not battling them for position, but it is quite a quick car, I think, and that is going to be a factor in this. Trojan go through, and Rob Smith has to concede second position.
He does indeed. Yeah, has to slip back behind then. So as you say, once again, a Trojan 1-2 here with just over 1 hour left to go in the race already. Almost 2/3 race distance here for the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series at Donington Park, as we thought a few drivers driving straight in. I think that was 6 teams, maybe even 7 teams diving in straight after that first lap of racing. course, still 6.5 minutes to get that stop in. Blob come back out after what I can only imagine was a sublime pit stop from them as they re-enter the circuit. But these two still nose to tail and all nearly off the circuit there. Sort of following the line of the car ahead there, nearly comes a cropper there for car 300. They just about managed to keep it on the stuff that gives them grip, and they press on to another lap.
They were both on the limit though, weren't they? They both carried a lot of speed through, and I think Rob Smith was just copying everything that Adam Willis was doing in the Trojan car ahead, and because Adam ran wide, so too did Rob. Not that wide though. It's Blob.
It's Blob.
It's Blob. They're off at the old hairpin for the second time, I think, and this time they're stuck in the gravel. What a shame for Blob, who have kept us thoroughly entertained. I'm sure they'll get back underway, but they'll need some outside assistance to do so.
Despite the perfect pit stop, the outlap has not quite been the same.
No, that is a bit of a blob on their copybook, isn't it?
Hello.
Unfortunately, someone cameoing there on the trackside camera down at the old hairpin, and wondering, I'm sure, how quickly Blob can get back into the race. There's a crowd of people gathered on the spectator banking on the extra Redgate corner we noticed earlier on. I wonder if that's the Blob fan club. If it is, I want to go over and say hello.
So we said Rob over there.
Yes.
Rob,
we've got a task for you. go and integrate with the Blob fan club on the exit of Redgate Corner. Whoever they are, they've been there from the very start of the race, and I don't think they're leaving until the very end, which is nice to see. Good to see lots of spectators here over the weekend, enjoying the sunshine and enjoying what's been a massively, massively entertaining weekend of racing.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant event here at Donington Park, and when the sun shines, that always makes it better. Oh, that was aggressive, wasn't it? As they continue side by side there. Oh, almost a bit of contact there between the #Blessed car and one of the Trojan cars there on the outside. As peeling into the pits goes another car from that pack, and we run side by side down into the first couple of corners once more. So the Trojan Motorsport car there nearly with a bit of contact from the #Blessed car, but it was absolutely perfect. In the end, they gave each other just enough room, and they both continue on to another lap. And now there is a car in between second and third place as they now run down into that yellow flag zone with the Blob car still stuck in the gravel. So that's quite early, to be fair, for the yellow flag as well. That really messed up the line there of the car in second place in this train, as we can hear gravel, and that's why being scrambled there down to the instant to relieve Blob from the gravel. But yeah, I was going to say that quite an early yellow flag right at the top through Hollywood, so yellow's all the way down the bottom, and if you're a quick team, that holds you up all the way down that part of the circuit as we're going to go 3 wide.
Oh, that's Colin Bysouth in the #Blessed car, who's getting properly stuck in with the leader here, isn't it? Or the third place car, sorry, as they head up the hill. He actually gets past them into McLean's corner. Colin had a really nasty accident at Donington Park years ago, that sequence of corners actually in his MX-5 racing days. Bounced back nicely from it, of course, to enjoy success in the MX-5 Super Cup and now C1 racing, and he's showing some of that one-make aggression that you can only really learn from something like Mazda MX-5 racing as he gets stuck into one of the leading cars. He is now going to come under attack, though, with the power of the slipstream down the exhibition straight. #Blessed are running in 8th position at the moment. They're battling the Silver Lake car directly ahead for position, aren't they, John?
It's just what I was about to say. Yes, of course, you've got the leaders coming through this group of cars, but these are a lot of the drivers, a lot of the teams in this gaggle of C1s are indeed scrapping for position. Yeah, like you say, he's not even that far down the order. No. Bottom end of the top 10, this is a squabble for us. Now looking up the inside, down into Redgate once more. Heavy on the brakes goes the #Blessed team, and looks as though they've got the place as well.
Oh, and then Rob Smith nearly turns across the nose of another car. So, yeah, this is all getting very messy. Speaking of, a car sliding onto the road, it's Emax again. Which Emax car is that? It can't be the 345, so it must be the 343. Mind you, they've both had dramas in this race so far. 343 was overheating earlier on, and 345 had the damaged radiators. They were probably overheating as well after a gravelly excursion at the old hairpin. Luckily, they've rejoined without collecting anybody, and this enormous battle back of cars can continue to entertain.
Yeah, fantastic. We're happy about that, aren't we, as we continue on up the hill once again. Looks as though the Blob car has been freed now, so yellow flag should be going in down through Hollywood and through the Craner curves. As I look over, I think it has literally just gone in, so we're back to full green flag racing speed once again. That gap now between the Alpha Trojan team and now their sister team of Trojan Motorsport, now pretty much 12 seconds the gap. So with that fresh air out front, Alpha Trojan continuing to build that gap, really nicely working away at it, as that's a little bit further off the circuit than they would have liked there. The 300 does manage to push their way back onto the circuit. The BPC tyre buffing team able to just get the elbows out there, force their way back onto the black stuff. They did well with that one. That could have ended pretty badly.
Yeah, well, Rob was pushing because in that little exchange, he gained quite a chunk of time on Adam Willis, actually, in the second place Trojan car, so he was almost within touching distance of second place again. The leaders are in, by the way, well spotted. Alpha Trojan are in, so this is now the battle for the lead temporarily between Trojan Motorsport and BPC Tyre Buffing. And Rob Smith, he may have lost a bit of pace in the earlier part of his stint, but he's certainly pushing on now.
I'm trying to think of the last time which of the Trojan cars it was that came in first. I think it was the Trojan Motorsport one that came in first on the first attempt.
Yes, you're right.
But this time it seems as though it's the Alpha Trojan who have gone. Have decided to come in. So there we go. Then down the hill we go once more. And like you say, this battle for second now becomes the effective battle for the lead. And well, for now, anyway, there's no other C1s in between these two as they press on up through sector number 2 once again. Well, back from these two in second and third, it is then almost now 30 seconds back to the TGR Racing crew in 4th place. So massive gap between our top 3 and the rest of the order, and that of course not helped by that safety car period we had only a few moments ago.
Yes, exactly. So, although to be fair, the gap 3rd to 4th grew quite quickly at the start of the race, I seem to remember. Similar situation after the safety car period. Alpha Trojan then, when they pitted, were just under 10 seconds clear of this battle for second place. There is the Alpha Trojan car in the pit lane. Oh, it's a penalty!
I did think it's before the window. I was suddenly thinking, hold on a second, it's not the window yet. What are we doing? It's not ticked below an hour. It has now, but Alpha Trojan, penalty then, as they are in the pit lane. The 4-2-1, isn't it? Well, I've got nothing on the live timing here. Oh, yes, I do. Stop-go penalty, overtaking safety car. Overtaking safety car. So there you go. They should have dropped in behind. And once again, you are right, Mr. Andy McEwen. See, I would have got a penalty as well because I would have thought, hey, you've not picked me up. I'm going, mate. But the time wasted there, clearly, everyone behind the scenes has gone, that was very naughty. You get a penalty.
Sometimes being a gentleman and doing the sporting thing actually gets you somewhere. And this is a long penalty, isn't it? Because they've been there for a lap now, I believe. So this is going to take them out of contention for the win, surely.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. There we go. Alpha Trojan aren't winning this one. And that means we've got a genuine fight for the win now between BPC Tyre Buffing and the Trojan Motorsport car, who have just set the fastest lap of the race, by the way, a 1:35.310. But this is massively important. Alpha Trojan will be kicking themselves for that. It was that fraction of a second decision making, wasn't it? The safety car came out. It was a bit ambiguous as to whether it was ahead or behind the Alpha Trojan car, though I thought it did look like it was in front of it at a glance. I haven't seen it again, but either way, they've been given a penalty for it, and that completely changes the complexion of the race heading into the final hour.
Yeah, wow. I mean, from a driver's perspective, that's pretty aggressive, isn't it, there? But I guess it's sort of just showing you can't be doing this going forward. You gotta act with an iron fist to show that drivers can't do that, as they all get a little bit close once again into the S's. Was that our usual protagonist getting close together, or was that 2 new teams? Because Blessed and Trojan have been coming to blows. Was that them, or was that the 2 behind?
No, it was Rob Smith nearly getting wiped out by a lapped car, which got a wheel on the grass going into the chicane. The lapped car was, I'm looking out of the window here, 563, which is another Emax Motorsport car of Aaron Grizzly and Athanasios Barnacote. That's 2 names you don't expect to go together. But anyway, that's the car that nearly just took out one of our race-winning contenders. Rob Smith lost a bit of time in all of that. But 1.7 seconds behind the race lead. I tell you what, Adam Willis has picked exactly the right moment to find some serious pace from this 301 car, because the second he inherited the lead, he suddenly started putting in some of that car's fastest laps of the race, including the fastest lap of the race a couple of laps ago.
Very, very impressive. Yes, now that gap's up to about 1.7 seconds as they're cutting through the traffic well. Really, the biggest sort of thorn in the side of the Trojan Motorsport team right now is the hashtag Bless car, is it? Oh no, sorry, the hashtag Bless car is with the 300 behind, sorry. The thorn in their side, because the hashtag Bless car is pretty much on leader's pace, isn't he, really? Getting really stuck in and, frustrating the cars around them. So the 300 slightly behind, and I think now the 301 slightly in front as they get past a couple of back markers. So a little bit of space opening up between these two. And I can tell you that the Alpha Trojan car is still there at the end of the pits. They're dropped down to 15th now. We'll let you know when they leave the pits to re-enter the circuit. And again, we might see them come out of the pits, go round once and come straight back in to get their final stop done, just just so they can focus on that final stint and just get on with it and see what they can do.
It's 3 and a bit laps, I think, you lose with 5 minutes. And, of course, they'll still have to come in and serve their mandatory stop, as you say. So this is going to take them well out of contention for a win. Probably for a top 10, you would have to say. I think 3.5 laps would take you down towards the tail end of the teens. So they're really going to be absolutely nowhere after this. 2.3 seconds in the lead, though, is the sister car Trojan Motorsport, the 301 machine, which has won both races so far this season at Brands Hatch and at Silverstone National Circuit, respectively. Trojan Motorsport themselves, 2-time Donington Park winners as well, back in 2022 and 2024, but it was not this number, so I don't know whether it's the same car. Out now goes the 421 car from the pit lane, so they've just been released straight back into a knot of traffic as well, just to further improve their mood, and we'll see at the end of this lap, John, exactly where they've dropped back into the order, but I reckon that's going to be somewhere around the back end of the teens.
It seems like it, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll see if they do decide to just drive straight back into the pit lane, get that out of the way, and then they can settle into the stint a little bit better. As here we see the leaders continue on round. I was right initially in the fact that Blessed were all over the race leaders and really getting it in amongst it as they kick up a bit of dust there on the inside part of the corner up through Coppice and back down the Starkey Straight once again. Well, the third place runners now with TGR Racing have pitted for their final time as they'll soon be heading back out on circuit. So, yeah, now, or was sort of 30 seconds back from third to fourth, is now back from second to third. So top two well and truly clear now. So unless they have something else occur similarly to the Alpha Trojans woes there for the safety car period, it will be a 2-horse race this, or a 2C1 race this, all the way through to the checkered flag. And the TGR Racing team more having to focus on those few drivers behind them to try and hold on to an overall podium in this one. And fair play, the two teams who are trying to chase them down, both AM teams as well. There has been racing, and of course, #Blessed Car as well, who, as I keep saying, are pressing on so well. They just did a personal best of a 1:36 dead. They are bang on the Trojan Motorsport pace at the moment.
Well, yes, because they're in the wheel tracks of the Trojan car, aren't they? So they're basically copying each other here. That was 2.9 seconds, by the way, quicker than the fourth place car Has Been Racing, who have crept into fourth place without me really noticing. But yeah, #Blessed have a real opportunity here to get a really good result out of this race. 311 back into the race now. That was the TGR Racing car, which is a genuine podium contender as well. And actually, I think maybe not that much further ahead of that #Blessed and Has Been Racing battle once all is said and done. But the best thing Colin Bysouth can do here, I think, is tag along with the race leader. He's running that car's best laps of the race, and it could net him maybe fourth place.
You can tell the bollards are gone at Coppice, can't you?
Yes.
That was 4 wheels on the grass on the inside at Coppice there. That was, shall we say, an aggressive racing line. But again, you've got to be careful of those track limits as well. You get a number of those, and you end up being the one sat at the end of the pit lane. So, got to be careful, the driver of the 300. The BPC tyre buffing car, not to call them out specifically, we just happened to see it on the stream. I'm sure a lot of the other drivers are doing exactly the same, but you've got to be careful.
But you're only exceeding track limits if you do it where it's being monitored, and it won't be monitored on the inside of a corner. True. It's always the corner exit, so it's, you know, one of the
do what you want, then,
imperfections of that particular regulation, I would say, if I was going to go on another rant, which I'm not going to, because surely if you're exceeding track limits in one place, it's the same as exceeding it elsewhere. What do I know? Anyway, in other words, I think they'll get away with that. I don't think there's no marshal that can see accurately enough to the inside of a corner to figure out exactly how far over the inside curb they're going. So once that floppy marker's gone, it's pretty much a free-for-all, a bit like when the tyre stacks get moved down here at the chicane. We saw in a couple of races yesterday, didn't we? Drivers really taking liberties over that second curb once that tyre stack had been knocked firmly out of the way.
You love them being there, though?
Oh, yes, big fan.
Yeah. Thought so. Just wanted to clarify for the people.
Well, we wouldn't want drivers exceeding track limits now, would we?
No, of course not, of course. Well, it's being well and truly enforced down there through the S's. And yeah, for the moment anyway, no one seems to have moved those tyre stacks, so well done. Yeah. C1 drivers, you're doing much better than the Fun Cup drivers yesterday. Right then, more drivers into the pits. Then this is the 399 who is in for another scheduled stop for them. Slightly further down the order, the 399, 20th place. The Morwin Motorsport with Driven Minds car, that is. The 331 just coming out of the pits, and they are battling for position, the Abbott Racing Motorsport car. So a little bit of an in-pit squabble between those two as they both head back out onto the circuit. Well, we are well and truly into this third hour now then, aren't we? Number of teams diving to the pit lane, getting those final stops done, but the ones, of course, that we were really focusing on, the number 301 and the number 300. As have we just changed for third place? Yes, we have. Hashtag Bless Getting Through has been racing. There was a good few seconds between them, only a moment to go when they're through.
3.5 seconds a lap ago, and now they're ahead going out of Redgate Corner. So, Colin Bysouth on an absolute charge in this race, in this stint, and he's still tagging along with the race leader as well, who also lost time that time around to Rob Smith. Rob back within 2 seconds of the lead now.
It's those cardboard cutouts. That's what it is.
It must be, yes.
That's what it is. That's what's finding the pace. Maybe he's got one in the passenger seat with him.
Which one, though? Would having Lewis next to you make you drive quicker, or Kim?
I don't know who would put me off more, to be honest. At least neither of them can open their mouths. Eh?
It's just true.
Not that Kim did. Anyway, we're going to forget
Moving
that. We'll forget that. Anyway, the fastest lap still with your race lead, and that now 1.8 seconds. So as they sort of settle into the pack, we saw that the Schroeder Motorsport car was gaining a little bit through the traffic, but it seems to have all settled down now between those two. And yeah, I'm interested to see. Of course, we saw we thought it was an early pit stop from the Alpha Trojan, but of course it isn't. It was a penalty, and as we mentioned them, I might as well just have a little look down and see where did they end up. Hold on a sec, they're still in the pits.
Who's this?
Alpha Trojan.
Oh, they are.
They're still in the pits.
Or are they back in the pits?
Maybe they're back in the pits.
Because they did leave. I definitely saw them leave. And you said, didn't you, that they might...
Yeah, we did see them leave. You're right. Yeah, they did a
yeah.
7:09. Then they've done a 1:38. And now they're back in again.
They've done what you said they've
done what I said. Go me. No, fair play. That makes sense to the strategy, doesn't it? Especially for the driver behind the wheel. As there they come back out again. Thank you very much, our fantastic Alpha Live camera operators, picking it all up as we hoped they would. 4-2-1 back out onto the circuit. Then right next to the hashtag Bless car, which leads me to believe he's right in with the leaders as well. So we'll settle back into pace. He's right in between our top two now, as he will actually move over, to be fair, and allow them to go on by. But yeah, I think that makes sense with the strategy. Just getting that all out of the way, get the penalty out of the way, get the pit stop out of the way, all out of the mind, focus on the next 50 minutes, and just do what you can.
I think you can only take credit for correctly predicting a strategy if you remember you correctly predicted it, John. I'm just going to pull you up on that one slightly. But yes, that is exactly what we thought they'd do. Just get the pit stop out of the way and run on till the end. Really cruel, though, isn't it? They came out in that lead battle. This is what you could have been involved in had you not overtaken the safety car when it came out of the pit lane earlier on.
Well, they wouldn't have even been involved in it. They would have been so far ahead, they wouldn't have even bothered with this. So, but again, I've said it already, it's an aggressive penalty, but fair enough. Acting with an iron fist, and they're showing you can't do this going forward. You've got to settle in behind. Even if we slightly miss you, settle in behind. Do us a favour, please, or we're giving you a 5-minute penalty. So, Alpha Trojan, what can they do from here then? As we say, 50 minutes still to go. They had amazing pace, didn't they?
Yeah.
Really good pace. So they're going to have to do the same as they were before. However, this time they're not overtaking back markers. They'll be overtaking cars for position, but it will feel very similar.
I'll be interested to see where they are actually once this final round of pit stops is done. But of course, in come the leaders. We'll move on to that in a moment. The leaders are in, and interestingly, BPC tyre buffing aren't. So Rob Smith is continuing. I'm presuming Rob will hand over to his son Sid at the pit stop. Sid, I was going to say, has been slightly the quicker of the two, but I think Rob actually has that car's personal best lap now. So anyway, out of the car gets car 301. This gets Adam Willis. Charlie Bingham, I think, is going to get in. Can't actually see through here whether there is a second driver ready and waiting, but of course, whilst they're refueling, no one could touch the car anyway. So Willis has to get out, and someone will then get back in once the fuel is added.
I've got to say, Charlie Bingham makes a great lasagna.
Yes, I've been thinking that all day. And I agree.
I always thought it was Bingham, but the brand is actually Bigham. Yeah, which caught me out. So sadly, not the driver about to get in behind the wheel. But funny enough, I am actually going to have a lasagna for tea from Charlie Bingham. So thank you very much, Charlie. Much appreciated. Best of luck in your stint out on circuit. But yes, indeed, 301 then. Let's see when they head back out. What's the sort of time difference to those drivers around them? And yeah, as we saw as well, there has been racing cars. We've just seen the 569 very slow outside of our commentary box window. But that change for third place between the 326 and the 339. Impressive stuff in the Blessed cars, we say, on really good pace, and now finding themselves up into the overall top three, which especially as an amateur team, that's mightily impressive.
Yes, I think they are going to end up behind TGR Racing, who have made all of their pit stops, remember. But they could still catch them because they've got really good pace. So, they might still be a podium contender before the end of the race. There's your race leader, Rob Smith, going for another lap. As I started to say, we might not really know the true running order until the final 5 minutes, because in theory, well, I don't know whether you can pit on the last lap and pull a Michael Schumacher, but you can certainly pit on the second to last lap, I would imagine. So you can go right the way towards the end of this hour before making that final pit stop. So we might not truly know where everyone sits, although the leaders have all been largely on the same strategy so far in the race. One hopes they continue doing that until the checkered flag, as 466 gets it all wrong down at the old hairpin.
They just pitted, I think, hadn't they? 466, not too long ago.
Yes, you might be right. Oh, that's the Hodes again, isn't it? The cat driver tray. I think it might have been a couple of laps ago. I think I saw them coming out of the pit lane. But yes, that car bouncing through the gravel trap down at the old hairpin. But again, thankfully did not get stuck and continues on its way.
Indeed, thank goodness they were able to wrangle that car back out of the gravel trap. Yeah, I take it back, I've just looked at their laps. I think it was about 10 laps ago or so that they were into the pits. So a little while ago now, so they very much settled into the stint, but getting chucked off wide there, off into the gravel as the tyres get all sorts of squealy up through coppice as well. So getting back onto pace and making sure those tyres are still nice and warm, which they seem to be. So we continue to press on in this one, waiting to see when the car at the back of the shot there, the number 300, decides to dive to pit lane. Do they try and mirror the strategy of Trojan Motorsport and just go 1 or 2 laps later, or do they leave it for another 20, 30 minutes, press on in where they are, and then see where they come out once the pit stop is done? Well, they head round the final couple of corners now, and we'll see whether they do dive in this time. Doesn't look like it from the body language of the car. Nope, they will continue on.
Yes, they are they've lapped Trojan Motorsport with that pit stop. Trojan Motorsport are a lap down. Now, I know the leader still has to pit again, and I know they took on fuel, but it shouldn't have been a lot of fuel. And a standard dry pit stop, if you like, without refueling, has been like half a lap time lost generally. So was that a slow stop for Trojan, or is that about the same length of pit stop we can expect from BPC? That, I suspect, is a Rob Lewis question, a question I shall ask him now.
I think that's a very good question to ask him. We will keep our eyes peeled as to those changes and the data to be analysed as well as the drivers continue on round. The Trojan Motorsport car coming on round to end the lap. He's dropping down the order, mate. He's dropped to 7th place, the Trojan Motorsport car. Have they had an off here out of the pit lane? They've not. Oh, they have come across the line now. Yeah. They have come across the line. Okay, 11 seconds behind 6th, the AF Racing car. So, what was it? Around 4 minutes and 3.
That's very long.
That's very long.
I think that's longer than just refueling. I think there's a story there. I've posed the question to Rob Lewis. Hopefully he's on the case already, but I would be concerned about that.
That is 2.5 minutes longer than their personal best lap.
Yes.
That seems like a massive amount.
They've changed a tyre.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, Rob tells me a few cars are changing left front tyres. Now, the left front tyre is the tyre that takes all of the abuse in a front-wheel drive car around here, especially in these warm conditions, but that surprises me. That does surprise me, and unless you feel like the tyre is getting to a point where it's dangerously worn, if I were BPC, I'd be thinking, right, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just save the time and coax the car home, because that's such a massive time loss. I think maybe that's handed a big advantage to the BPC car.
Yeah, my assumption would be that the tyres used in this series would be pretty robust. Especially considering the fact that considering the fact that there's a 24-hour race on the bill. Even if you do change tyres through the race, they need to go for a significant amount of time as a couple of drivers coming to blows there down into the final couple of corners. The Silver Lake car just about getting clear of those 3 as they all dice for track position, but what have you spotted?
Leader is in. I could do with seeing that pit stop if possible. The leader is in. I want to know whether they're doing a tyre change on that car as well. This could be a race-deciding moment. There we go. We can't really see from here. That's Sid Smith waiting to get back in, I think, in the 300 car. Are they working on the left front corner? They're refueling, aren't they? Could do with getting the roaming camera around the other side if possible. But
we know if he gets straight in after fueling, they're not changing the tyre, are they, surely? Because they're not going to jack him up while he's in the car, you would have thought. Maybe.
Maybe not. There's no rule against it, but yes, it wouldn't be the sensible thing to do, would it? Interesting. Our roaming camera operator is on his way. There he is, jogging into, bless him, Tim. He's had a very big, heavy camera on his shoulder all weekend long, and now we're making him run to the other side of the car. So refueling is done. Now what do? I don't think they'll have changed the tyre yet. Driver change being done, and this, I think, is going to be a much quicker pit stop than Trojan then. If they don't change the tyre, then I think they should come out with a pretty healthy lead.
No, I think so too. I don't see... Yeah, I don't know. Like you say, that surprises me as, no tyre change with the 300. They will head straight back out. So let's see what kind of time they gain. There was the, okay, that's the 4-2-1. That was the other Trojan car. It caught me out there. I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, they've had the most amazing lap ever. No, here comes the 300 to the end of the pit lane then, and they are going to be well clear of that sister Trojan car. To the end of the pit lane they go then, and we'll see once the 301 comes across the line, what's the sort of gap looking like between the two of these cars. Down through Redgate we go then, and we watch and wait for said number 301. There they are, coming through the S's, so that is a huge gap between the two of them. That's something around, I would guess, maybe even 15 seconds there between those two as that C1 comes to the line then. That's a bit of time lost then for the Trojan car, and yeah, like we say, I'm just surprised that there would be enough worry to need to change the tyre.
Yeah, unless they've damaged the tyre, but a few teams are doing it, so obviously quite a few teams are concerned about it. It'll be interesting to see whether there's a pace differential between the two cars now, whether there is an advantage to changing that one tyre. I know certainly in the Silverstone 24 hours, tyres are often being double stinted, normally. Certainly, front tyres I seem to recall would do 2 stints. Bear in mind that's 2.5 hours stint twice before you needed to change a front tyre. Rear tyres, it was known for them to do 4 stints on a set of rear tyres, so that was a long time anyway. Getting on for half the race on a rear set of tyres, because the rear tyres are just sort of hanging on for the ride, aren't they?
And that race is also in similar summer months as well, isn't it? In relatively warm temperatures comparative. Okay, maybe not quite as warm as today, but like you say, surely it can't be that much difference from, what is that, 5 hours down to less than 3.
It's the nature of the track, though, because it's all right-handers. You only turn left here through the Craners. Well, that doesn't really do anything to the tyres. Starkey's and Schwanzkopf doesn't do anything to the tyres. The sharpest left-hand turn is the exit of the chicane, which really doesn't punish the tyres very much, whereas all of the right-handers are long, high-speed corners through Redgate, through the old hairpin, McLean's Coppice, and that's why that left front tyre really does take a beating. It might be second only, really, to Thruxton as far as just how hard you punish one individual tyre on a front-wheel drive car, so not massively surprised at that, but I am surprised a little bit that the race-leading car, for example, felt that it was worth that time loss.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, with what they're battling for here, you think they'd find any sort of little bit to gain them a bit of time, but like you also mentioned, as they come back out of the pits, we might now see that the pace gain from that big spin, that's going to be a big spin off to the grass. That is the 424 there, catches it up and rejoins. Well done.
Advantage Motorsport. I don't think that's an advantageous line through the old hairpin there.
No, that is less than ideal. That is less than ideal. But yeah, clearly the Trojan crew know something that we don't here in the commentary box. Why would they make that decision? Clearly, we're unaware as to the reasons why. Let's keep an eye on the pace of those two cars for the next 40 minutes.
How many C1 Series races have you won?
0.
Yeah, I haven't either. Trojan have won a few, so I think they know what they're doing. Who are we to question them? The fact of the matter is they've come out of that pit cycle 23 seconds adrift of the BPC tyre buffing car, which we anticipate will re-inherit the lead once everyone else has made a final pit stop. So that's the gap that we need to watch out for, the starting point for the two of them, because BPC, as we know, have made their final pit stop as well. Across the line they go, and it is still showing as Rob Smith in the car, but that's worth double checking. I think that might be Sid who got back in. 1:37.8 was his last lap time. He's tucked in behind the 591 JW Bird Motorsport car. I haven't mentioned JW Bird very much. They haven't got as many cars in this race as they normally do, but they've been regular front runners in the series in the past, and the BPC car needs to try and overtake them. So 37.8 for them. Adam Willis showing as the driver in the Trojan Motorsport car again, did a 35.9. Nearly 2 seconds quicker. Now, traffic may have had something to do with that. Trojan didn't have any traffic on that previous lap. We know that BPC did, but is that a sign of a trend beginning, maybe? Is the Trojan car going to be able to overcome this 20-odd second deficit?
Maybe, but of course that BPC tyre buffing car, 2 seconds off their own personal best lap of the race. Now, before they came into the pits, they were certainly nowhere near 2 seconds off of that, and the tyre hasn't changed that much in the last 5 or 6 laps, so I think maybe just a slightly slower that time around, but clearly there is a benefit. Of course there is, it's a brand new tyre, but clearly there is. That's getting a bit dicey there, as leaning on each other to say the least, and one does end up in the gravel on the outside. Somehow they all make it through facing in the right direction, but that is the most classic line, I think, in C1 commentary ever. Somehow they've all made it through, as we close in towards the last 30 minutes minutes of this race. So yeah, this is going to be our focus, isn't it? Of course, from third place backwards, there was quite a significant gap from second to third and then further backwards. So our focus is really on these two cars, as there is the Trojan car trying to pick their way through quite a bit of traffic as drivers ahead continue to battle. And they're enjoying themselves. What a great race so far. I can't believe we're now, nearly 2.5 hours into this one. We've had a bumper 5 hours total of endurance racing action this afternoon, and we've only got just over 30 minutes left to go.
Yes, 8 hours of endurance racing, 9 if you count the sprint race for the Fun Cup over the course of the whole weekend. It's been an endurance racing bonanza, some of the absolute best endurance racing you'll ever see, certainly at this level. And this one is perhaps building now to a grandstand finish. Adam Willis's last lap time of 37.1 was slower than BPC tyre buffing by half a second, because he's now in a big group of traffic, as BPC had been a couple of laps earlier. So it is, I think, just the traffic that's dictating the pace here. Rob has confirmed that BPC took fuel but no tyre, and so that's why it was a much quicker pit stop for that number 300 car. We've had a stop-go penalty handed out to Manor Motorsport, number 576, a 3-minute penalty for a refuelling infringement.
But I've just looked in the details. That was the second refuelling infringement penalty. They got a 3-minute one. Just before that, they got a 5-minute one. They've got 8 minutes of fuel infringement stop-go penalty. 2 coming through from the same pit stop, one of 5 minutes and one of 3 minutes. Either that's an error, or they've done 2 egregious infringements that got them a drive-through. A weird one, that. But yeah, if you open up the race control, 2 of them there within about a minute of each other. So 1 5-minute, 1 3-minute. So it's definitely not a repeat.
No, I wonder if it was a 3-minute penalty that was erroneously given as a 5-minute penalty. That seems odd that there'd be 2, because if it was the same pit stop and it's the same infringement, you'd think you just lump it all together and give them an 8-minute penalty. I don't know.
You're probably right. You're probably right. But it's very exciting.
Yes, it is. Right, where are they even, the 5, 6, 7 car? I don't think they are troubling the front runners, are they? It's so difficult to find someone on this. Oh, they are 5, 7, 6, 32nd place, so not massively relevant for the outcome of the race. Right, Rob Lewis, I'm told, wants to talk about tyres. Oh, we'll get to him in a moment. There's a car in the gravel at Redgate, 363. That is Radiation Racing. The livery on that car makes sense now. And they will dump another nice load of gravel on the tarmac. Now, gravel all over the road won't help the tyres. And as we've said, it's a punishing circuit, this, for tyres. So Rob Lewis has a tyre update for us.
Right, I'm going to talk tyres. Don't fall asleep, because there is a bit of science to this. Now, C1 tyres, they have their own branding, so they're stamped Nankang C1 Racing Club. They have their own tyre. They're a derivative of a road tyre, and predominantly they're shaved. So when they're new, they have different teams down the pit lane. They have a couple of teams like BPC, so this is a BPC tyre, and they shave them. So they take the road tyre and they buff the rubber off them to get the blocks down, so they're not moving around as much, and you can optimise the grip. So this is a car, this is a tyre, hasn't been buffed in, it's just been shaved, and that's ready to go on the car. And you can tell that, you can see the marks where the tyre's been on the machine and been shaved down. That's good for a 3-hour stint. Now, Andy, I'm sure, was asking on the commentary, I know he did text me and ask a question about some of the teams are changing front tyres. I think, to be honest, it's just a bit of a make sure they don't have an issue. This is a car that's just come off of one of the BPC cars. As you can see, fairly even wear. The bit that I did notice was this chunk here, and it's little chunks like this, whether you're hitting a curb a bit too hard, you hit a bit of rubble in the road or whatever, that can start to delaminate and then you lose the grip. But it creates an awful lot of noise before you start to lose the performance of the tyre. That's a nice, worn, smooth tyre. To be honest, it probably could have gone until the very end. And a lot of cars out there today, although the pace has picked up in these cars, they'll be running the same 4 tyres until the end, touch wood. But some of them have gone for the safer option. So there we go, a little bit of tyre talk. Road tyres shaved down to produce the optimum performance. Don't ask me about a wet tyre. I assume they just use the normal road tyres. I'll find out a little bit more. But for now, it's the rundown to the end of the race, so I'll hand back to the commentary team.
luckily for you, Rob, I don't think wet tyres are going to be all that relevant today, are they? Not like they were last year here at Donington Park. But yeah, interesting stuff. So it is just a security thing. They will inspect the tyres whenever the car comes into the pit lane. So maybe a team member clocked something on that left front tyre that they didn't like the look of. There's so much gravel strewn across the road, John. They haven't really had any time, the marshals, to clear that since the race started. So if you start running over those bits of gravel, it can create a nick in the tyre, can't it? And that could prove disastrous.
It could, and yeah, as you say, especially there down through the first couple of corners, the drivers have been off there, left, right and centre, and of course the easiest way to rejoin is coming straight back on at the corner exit, so that then drags and chucks gravel all over that, and we've seen that has happened at least 4 or 5 times during this race. There's still lots of gravel strewn, particularly over that part of the circuit just out of Red Gate, so another thing to think about. Not that I would assume the drivers are really thinking about tyres at any point in this race. It's just sort of, if you hear a big bang, it's probably gone and you should go to the pits. Otherwise, there's no real thought about them. And as you say, probably was a team member who spotted something that maybe they didn't quite like there and thought, better be safe than sorry this. If we send it back out and it blows up, the drivers aren't going to be very, very happy with me. So let's get it off. Okay, we're going to waste however many seconds, but it is what it is. The drivers will then have the right perches, at least on the tyres underneath them, to see what they can do in terms of gaining some more pace out of their C1 through the final 30 minutes.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh,
You're going to have to look on the race control bit of your timing screen to confirm this. Have 427 AF Racing served a pit lane penalty of any kind?
No.
Okay, so they've made all of their 3 pit stops. They're in a genuine 4th position now, and they're only 2.5 seconds behind Trojan Motorsport, and they're lapping about the same pace as Trojan Motorsport, interestingly, the 301 car. That, I think, will become 3rd position once Has Been Racing make their final pit stop. I'm not convinced we've mentioned AF Racing all race long, so I know it's our job, dear viewer, to tell you what's happening and why it's happening, but I've no idea how they've ended up in podium contention. They are, though, I think, in genuine podium contention, because I don't think they've had any pit stop penalties, so those 3 visits to the pit lane have all been legitimate mandatory pit stops by the looks of it, and they've worked their way nicely into contention for a top 3 finish, maybe. Also, the gap between Sid Smith, who is now confirmed as being in the BPC tyre buffing car, and Adam Willis in the Trojan Motorsport car is 20 seconds. It was 23 seconds when they came out of the pit lane, so it is coming down. But, John, with 29.5 minutes to go, is it coming down quickly enough? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. I was just double checking there that yes, indeed, the AF Racing has done all 3 genuine pit stops there. So yeah, fair play to them. Running under the radar, that's always how you want to be. You want the commentators to not notice until suddenly you're up there at the sharp end, or suddenly you're off in the gravel. There goes the 387. Who's that now stuck in the kitty litter?
387 are not on my entry list, which is helpful.
That's definitely what it says, right?
Yes, yes, that says 387. I'm not arguing with you.
It could be 378. That's Team MKD, but he definitely said 87 on the side of the car there.
No, it did. I agree with you.
Yeah, there is. Oh, yes, I found it. Red Sky Racing, 387 from 18th place.
Okay, a late addition to the entry then. So where were they? 18th, did you say?
18th,
Right,
yeah.
okay. Well, they're not anymore. They are in the gravel trap, unfortunately. Now, will that require a safety car? They've got the live snatch vehicle down there, which has worked wonders, in fairness, so far in this race. So hopefully that won't need a safety car interruption.
Hopefully not. Once again, yellow flags out at Hollywood, so neutralises this whole zone of the circuit, which, if you're a fast driver, coming up to some slightly slower drivers, will be very frustrating because it's a good place to get moves down at the bottom of the hill there through Old Hairpin. Well, clearly it goes back to green rather quickly there because the drivers already off on the grass, trying to make moves there as they then head back up the hill. So, one driver there, we just saw there as you skimmed across the picture, still very much beach there, right in the middle of the gravel as well. When we saw Blob down there a little bit ago, they were right on the edge, weren't they? They'd almost got themselves out, but not quite. That car is totally in the middle, so we'll take a little bit longer to drag them back to safety. But as you say, the live snatch vehicle, I'm sure, will be able to deal with that one down at Old Hairpin once again. So, just looking at those gaps then, the sharp end of the order, what is it now? Still about 12 seconds between the 300 and the 301. They're number neighbours and their neighbours out there on circuit at the moment, but a bit of time in between them. We're still waiting for the pit stop from Has Been Racing, aren't we? They've had a great race so far in this, on a particularly good stint in this last stint, but where will that next pit stop drop them to? We will have to wait and see. So it's looking like it could be a bit of a battle then between AF Racing and #Bless. You've got to watch and wait for that pace from #Bless, because on the last lap it was a 38.1 for AF Racing, a 36.9 for the #Bless team. So at least over a second gain there on that lap alone. They've got quite a few seconds to find though as we peer through the dust, and we still couldn't quite tell who it was.
There was a car, it was back on the road, I don't know who it was. But anyway, more gravel on the track now. It really is becoming a bit scrappy, isn't it, this final hour of the race? I guess a bit of fatigue maybe starting to creep in for some of the drivers out there. And that is making incidents on track all the more likely. There's just been a really slow lap for the Trojan Motorsport car of Adam Willis. Well, I say really slow, 140.2. That is about 5 seconds off the pace that they should be running. So that could have been traffic, I suppose. But that seems like they've had a moment somewhere, or maybe got caught in a yellow flag zone. That was a massive lunge up the inside into McLean's corner. And I think they got away with that. That's the James Stocks & Co car, I think, that made it a very ambitious move up the inside. It is the 582 car. They've already had a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits, and I dare say did so again there up the inside into McLean's. Leaders in though, John, as you've just spotted, and so Sid Smith is about to move back into first position.
Indeed, yeah, well, soon enough. However, once again, our top 3, 4, 5, actually a bit further down now, a lot of drivers now have completed their final stop of the race. So we'll really start to see what those gaps are looking like and what is needed from those drivers through the rest of this race. What have they got to do to try and gain, of course, track position and, well, now it'll be overall position as well. Now we're going to wait and see where these drivers are in terms of traffic as well, because that's going to be a key factor into how the rest of this plays out as well. There is the 338 in the pits. That is slightly further down the order. That's 17th place. It's the 339 that pitted from second place, who is also in the pits there as well. So now the 300, as you say, of Sid Smith, the BPC tyre buffing, does retake the lead of the race on circuit, and we'll wait and see what that gap is at. It is already across the line, goes Trojan Motorsport, 21.3 seconds. And on that last lap anyway, it was actually the PPC tyre that was a little bit faster, but of course, as I say, traffic very much coming into play. As we see there, the snatch vehicle's heading off back up and away, so surely the car's out the gravel. Yes, it is.
Yeah, brilliant work again from the Donington Park marshals, so really good stuff there from the marshals down at the Old Hairpin, who've had a fair amount to do over the course of the 2 days this weekend here at Donington Park. There, that is Sid Smith leading the way. Spoke to him earlier on. He was feeling very relaxed ahead of this C1 race, and as well he should have been, because actually it's all fallen into place for them. They looked quick in that opening stint, didn't they, when Trojan had, the two Trojan cars had pulled a gap on the rest of the field. The 300 car was the only one really that seemed able to live with their pace. They dropped back a bit towards the end of the opening hour, but they've stayed out of trouble so far. They've not picked up any penalties so far, and they find themselves now with a lead that surely, barring any dramas, should not be they should be able to defend to the flag. Trojan Motorsport are now gapping AF Racing as well. That gap up to nearly 10 seconds from second to third position, and AF Racing are 35 seconds clear of Chris Etheridge, who's now into the #Blessed car in fourth. TGR Racing are fifth. Sixth position, Silver Lake Racing. Seventh for Has Been, although that might not be right. They've not yet completed their outlap from the pit lane, but all of our front-running cars now, in fact, I think most of the field have now made their third and final pit stop.
Still, the #Blessed car gaining time on AF Racing, hand over fist. They almost gained on the lap before last. It was almost 3 seconds that was gained by the #Blessed car on this last time around, where we just wait and see when the #Blessed car comes across the line as to what lap time they've done. Either way, the lap time from the AF Racing car was much quicker on that last time around, about a second and a half quicker. Oh, big incident down the hill, and contact. That's with the Trojan car. That's with the Trojan car colliding with the back marker there. They got spun around. They turned themselves back around. Now the Trojan car continues on, but of course, we've already seen, okay, it was gravel-related radiator issues before. It was a bit of a punt, but hopefully the radiator should be okay there. But wow, we weren't expecting that, Andy.
No, that was major drama. Oh, and the car is very sideways at McLean's corner as they try and get back up to speed, but it goes to show, doesn't it? You get to the end of the race, everyone's a bit tired, the sun's quite low in the sky now, so visibility isn't brilliant. I've just seen more contact coming out of Redgate corner between back markers, so the likelihood of you getting tripped up over somebody is so much higher at this stage of the race, regardless of who you are, whether you're the leader or whether you're running in 45th place. There's always danger around every corner. This is the mess that I just saw coming out of Redgate corner. These three were all leaning on each other coming out of the first turn. Don't be surprised if there's still a sting in the tail in this race.
Exactly. Yeah, one slight lapse of judgment and all could go wrong. And I say that, doesn't even need to be you as the one behind the wheel making the lapse in judgment. It could be the driver that you're trying to overtake beside you does something wrong and suddenly the race is over. You've still got to have those eyes on stalks for the last 20 minutes, no matter how dehydrated and tired you are behind the wheel of your C1. You've got to press on for this next 20 minutes and see what the drivers can do. Right then, 24 seconds now it is between the 300 and the 301. I mean, that lap time would have helped things with a 39. I think fair play to the Trojan Motorsport car for still doing a 39, despite at one point having a C1 perpendicular to it, heading down the Craner curves. That's less than ideal, I've heard. Now still, oh, hold on. Oh, no, of course. I got excited then because the gap between second and third had closed, but of course it was the car in second that lost loads of time there down the Craner curve. So although the AF Racing team have gained on that last lap, I don't think that will continue. Saying that, though, they did just put in their personal best lap of the race, a 36.2 for the AF Racing car. So a very impressive job on that last lap, and that sort of curtailed the charge of the hashtag Blessed car behind as they were on a similar pace last time around, keeping that gap at around 35 seconds then between third and fourth place. As we keep our eyes here on the 301, we immediately look over to the 300 then, as there you can see what differing parts of the circuit they are on. There you can see them both in the same shot. The Trojan is heading down the back straight behind us, and there we can see in the foreground the leader, of course, of BPC tyre buffing there, getting past a couple more back markers. So that just shows in terms of a picture of on track quite how far the distance is between our top two with 20 minutes to go.
Yes, it's still around 20 seconds, I think, isn't it, between the two of them? Yeah, 22.4 seconds. I'm also going to throw an extra little uncertainty into the mix here. The curfew, as far as I am aware, is 7 p.m. here at Donington Park. That is 8.5 minutes away. We have 20 minutes left on the clock. I am not convinced that this race is going to run to its full 3-hour distance. We'll wait and see. Sometimes special permits can be given to overrun by a few minutes, but yeah, I'm not convinced this is going to run all the way to the end of the 3 hours. Everyone's made their final pit stops now, so it wouldn't really make much of a difference if we ended a little bit early, but don't be surprised if that checkered flag waves maybe just, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes earlier than originally, well, maybe less than that actually. It could be about 11 or 12 minutes earlier than we originally expected it to.
Right, if it's been curtailed, that's going to play into the hands of the 300, isn't it? Who didn't change the tyre. Yeah. So that time lost in the pit lane for the 301 will be even more compounded there with a lack of race time at the end of the race. But here we see said number 300, the BPC tyre buffing, continuing to pick their way past some back markers. So as we press on, onto a new lap we go. I've just had a notification that there's not been enough numbers for my shift tomorrow, so I've been unbooked, so I've got a free day off. Hey! Let's go. Although I am quite skint. There we are. Anyway, time off for John. Anyway, back to the racing. 20 minutes still left to go then, and as we say, if it is curtailed, this is really going to play into the hands of the 300. Of course, it was always a gamble to not change that tyre, but it might just be paying off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the right call regardless, to be honest. I don't really think it was necessary. I mean, I haven't seen the Trojan tyre. I'm sure they wouldn't have changed it unless they felt it was absolutely necessary, but it did seem like quite a big call. Rob has been doing some detective work for us in the pit lane. He's confirmed that the race is going to go the distance. So the checkered flag will fall at 7:11, 11 minutes past 7 here at Donington Park. Ooh, someone else is off. Every time I look at Redgate Corner out of the window, someone is in the gravel trap. If they get stuck, I'll tell you. But beyond that, it's not really even that noteworthy an incident at this stage. So yeah, race will run to its full distance. 18 minutes then still to go. But I don't think it's going to matter, is it? Because Sid Smith has got the pace at this point to keep that Trojan Motorsport car at bay. It is still 23 seconds behind the race leader.
Indeed. Still plenty to play out. As you say, that gap still sort of staying pretty similarly between our top two then, and the gap back to third, pretty much now opening up to 10 seconds then. Well, good to hear that we will be rolling on through the whole race distance here at Donington Park, and we will enjoy another 17.5 minutes of C1 Racing Series action. Again, big shout out to Silver Lake. Thank you again for your continued sponsorship of this fantastic racing series. Oh dear, that is a C1 that is not very happy parking up at the side of the road. Oh, they've got it back underway. That's good to see. 554 is off again. Who was that? It was a little bit further down the order, I think, there with the 554. It is 38th place, that is, for JFR. And it is last name Fletcher behind the wheel for them at the moment. But a little bit of an odd one there, coming to a halt and then dumping the clutch and carrying on. So I don't know what the issue was there for them, as I can see the gravel dust kicked up in the foreground there of our camera shot as these three battle on through. Clearly it was just a glancing blow and a bit of a jump and a jive through the gravel there on the outside, but they live to fight another day. Here is your race leader continuing to carve their way through the back markers. Sid Smith has had a great stint in this one, but look at this, the 582. Is that defending or is that attacking? It's kind of half of both, really, and this is going to squeeze in your race leader here. They will do the up and under, but driver chops across them. That was close. Sid Smith is not going to be a happy bunny behind the wheel of that car, and he gives a massive wallop to the rear bumper of the car in front. Whether that was a decision made by Sid there, or maybe the car in front just overslowed a little bit more than he would have liked. Either way, he has now found a way through, and he's getting a bit of a push from the driver behind. Down the Starkey straight once again, as we head down into the S's once more. Here we cut through onto the main straight then. There's so much action going on. We don't know where to look here on Alpha Live. Are we looking over here? Are we looking over here? We're back to the race leader out of the final corner and still getting pushed along by these cars. I don't think Sid's going to be very happy with these two, particularly the purple car there at the back of this train of three now. The 582, that is, getting stuck in. And whereabouts are the 582? In the order. 13th place it is for the James Stocks & Co. car. Surname Button is the driver behind the wheel at the moment. And, well, he's quick. He's quick and he's getting stuck in. And fair enough, he's also in a battle around that position. So he's got 5 seconds to find if he wants to catch the Emax Motorsport car up in 12th place. So yeah, he's trying to press on. He's got 15 minutes to do something about it, and a much closer gap than we have between first and second here. So as a little bit of a slower car. Might have just been a poor exit, though, there from the yellow car in that group of three ahead. But now the 300 has done the work. The BPC tyre buffing car has been able to scamper clear of those two. And now, well, he's got a few more back markers to try and find a way past now as well. But some rather close moments there, shall we say, for your race leader. But I've got to say to Sid, dealt with that absolutely fantastically well there, showed his experience and his tenacity behind the wheel of a Citroen C1 in carving his way through the traffic there and, crucially, keeping his nose clean. Of course, he's wanted to make sure he doesn't lose too much time here, but he does still have a 20-second gap across the race leader, so on some occasions it might just be better just to sit behind for another corner and wait for a bit of a better opportunity. Although it's difficult as well, because one, you're trying to carry that momentum as best as you can, and two, you've got other cars around you all scrapping, going side by side and all going mental themselves. So picking your way through the order is difficult at the best of times, let alone when you're in the lead of the race and the pressure is on here with just over 10 minutes to go to try and hold on to said lead of the race.
You're starting to sound like me now, telling the drivers to just calm down and take it easy. They never listen. Let me tell you that from first-hand experience. The thing is, though, sometimes, and drivers do say this, don't they, if you do deliberately start backing off a little bit and not taking risks and driving at 90% maybe, you're far more likely to make a mistake because you're completely out of your rhythm. All of the muscle memory that you picked up over the lengthy race, the 3 hours so far, and all of the track time they'll have had this weekend in general, starts to go out the window then. Your timing is off. It's easy to miss a braking point or miss a turning point and trip over a back marker maybe. So sometimes it is best just to keep on pushing on, and that's certainly what Sid Smith is doing. A 35.695, that car's best lap of the race, and only a few tenths of a second away from the outright fastest lap of the race here this afternoon. There was the 352 car, the James Stocks & Co. car, which had that drive-through penalty earlier on. It's got a passenger side wing mirror dangling in the air now after a little bit of side-to-side contact with somebody earlier on, maybe. Down the order to see if there are any battles potentially in the offing, and not really inside the top 10 or so, although actually one that could still change is 7th place. Has been racing, being caught by MDA slightly, who also just did their personal best lap of the race, but that's still an 8-second gap between the two of them. So with 12 3/4 minutes still to go, it is now very much a case of just getting to the checkered flag in one piece, not taking any undue risks if you don't have to, and hoping that the car stays together, because this is also the part of the race where things are more likely to break. Although weirdly, it felt like we had more mechanical issues in the first hour of the race than we've had ever since. These cars are, as I said, pretty low maintenance. They're pretty reliable, and I think those who'd have problems, largely that's been got out of the way now.
Yeah, they're pretty robust, these things, aren't they? So it seems as though, as long as everyone's done their job in the pits prior to the race and everything's still on it after the first 30 minutes or so, then you should be good for the rest of the 3 hours. And that's seemingly what we have seen in this one. But yeah, continuing to watch the BPC tyre buffing car pick their way through the traffic as Blob gets the fastest lap. 1 minute 35.3 for Blob. Well, they've left their sensationalism right into the last stint. And we knew it was happening. We knew it was going to come. That fastest lap from Blob. Where even are they?
They're in 29th place.
Oh, they've just lost it. They've just lost it. 135.1 for Alpha Trojan. No!
What's going on? Why is the track suddenly so much quicker than it was? I mean, that's bizarre, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, well spotted. I honestly thought that was a glitch. I know that's really offensive to Blob, but I was just so surprised. But hey, they have got
what
really
you were trying
good
to
pace.
say was you thought it was a glitch that they weren't the fastest lap earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The timing screen I thought had been glitching for the last 2 hours and 48 minutes. Is
Stop
that right?
trying to do maths.
I know, I never learn, do I? Really good lap time that, though. Obviously, not quite the fastest of the race, but Costa Kritsis is in the car. It's only it is a hang on, I'm getting this wrong. Yeah, 2-driver effort, Costa and Samuel Cunliffe. So presumably Costa's been in the car earlier on as well. Alpha Trojan, though, now they're 25th after that penalty. 5-minute penalty knocked them outside of the top 20, even further back than I expected it to. And they have now stolen that back with a 35.175. So doesn't matter where you are, there is still the opportunity for you to set a really good lap time. And that is what we're starting to see now as the track temperature perhaps starts to cool, the fuel load comes down as well, and so the lap time's starting to get quicker. Rob actually making a very good point in a message to me that the more worn the tyres are, actually the quicker they get, because they sort of become a slick as you get further into the race, because they're already shaved down, as he was expertly describing to us earlier on. Now that they're really, really worn, there's not a lot of tread left on them at all.
I can't believe this, because I know, so we've obviously had lots of discussions today with a certain Mr. Andrew Mather, who's on Circuit Comms. Now, you suddenly said that name, Costa Christis, and it sort of activated something in me from watching the BUKC, the British Universities Karting Championship, back in the day when I was racing in it, when I was rubbish racing in the secondary championship. Costa Christis, the Greek god of speed, as Andrew named him, was very, very speedy at the top end of the leading championship in the BUKC at the time. So amazing to see him out in the C1s. And I think Andrew up in the other comms is going to be going mental during this race. The Costa is in it, but not surprising. He was very speedy in a Club 100 car, and clearly that's transitioned to C1s well, as he very momentarily there had the fastest lap of the race.
Well, only the very best young karters will be invited to race for Blob, of course. So it makes perfect sense that they've gone for him, and what a great decision it was. He is, as I said, one of the fastest cars out on track right now.
Yeah, very, very impressive from Costa as he tries to get a bit of a better result for Blob, who have not been without their fair share of frustrations throughout the rest of the day then. So with just less than 10 minutes left to go, we enjoy the rest of this one. But sadly for the neutrals anyway, the top two, that gap has stayed pretty much the same for the last 10 minutes or so. Despite the differing traffic levels, it's remained bang on pretty much 20 to 24 seconds.
It has. There's just been a very slow lap for the 311, the TGR racing car in 5th position. 2.9 seconds they are ahead of the Silver Lake racing car, so we could do with finding them ideally. They were 6 seconds slower than them last time, so they must have had a moment somewhere, and that has now put them under some serious threat from the car that runs currently in 6th position. So I'm going to try and figure out where they might be on track. Hashtag Blessed have just gone through at Redgate, so it's the next two cars behind them. that I think could trade positions before the checkered flag comes out. The 311 TGR racing car and the 558 Silver Lake racing machine are getting themselves right together. They haven't yet crossed the line though, so as soon as they do, I'll let you know, and we'll try and get the camera trained on them. But that is a battle that is developing nicely now, heading into the final part of the race. So although at the front maybe things are largely settled, there are definitely still some battles to be resolved further back.
Plenty of battles still to be resolved further back. As you look further down the order, who have you spotted?
It's changed already. That in fact, they're in the pit lane. TGR Racing are in the pit lane, so they had a slow lap last time, and they're now into the pit. So this is obviously a drama for TGR Racing. And they have come in very late in the day. They've done their mandatory stop, so this is not a planned visit to the pit lane. And TGR Racing then, unfortunately, are going to lose a top 5 result as a result of that, if that makes sense.
Sort of.
Not much I've said for the last 3 hours has made sense, let's be completely honest.
No, but indeed, that's a team that we were at one point alluding to the fact that they might be on for 3rd place, but it doesn't look like that any longer with 7 minutes left to go. They are still out there in the pit lane. They've not been pushed into the box just yet, but we shall wait and see. The bonnet is up, so clearly something that they are not very happy with. And yeah, as we were saying, potential podium on the cards at one point during this race. Well, that has fallen away here for sure.
What are they looking at? Well, the engine, obviously, yes. They don't pay me the big bucks for
Are
nothing,
you a mechanic? I had no idea.
Fluid coming
That
out of it.
helps.
Now, is that radiator fluid, maybe? We've had a few radiators done because of all the gravel that's on the road. I wonder if maybe that's what's caught out the 311 car, and at this stage, that's going to take them out of the race altogether. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by things out of the window again. Yes, I think that's going to mean they probably don't reach the checkered flag at all, so they're going to keep on dropping down the order. We still have 6 minutes to go, so they're going to fall outside of the top 30, I think, as a result of whatever this issue is. But yeah, wouldn't mind betting some money on the fact that that's a bit of gravel that's gone through the radiator. They would not be the first team to fall foul of that.
No, exactly that. It's happened already a couple of times today, and like we mentioned earlier on, especially down through Exeter Redgate, for example, a lot of teams and drivers have been off down there. They've dragged a lot of gravel back on, so you don't even necessarily have to be the one to go off-piste into the gravel to have your day, your race and your radiator ruined by someone else's incident and someone else's bit of kitty litter. Well, just over 5 minutes left to go in this one then, and he recoils once again in the comms box as the driver's getting very close. Did you think because we're at the end of a 3-hour race that they would let up at all, Andy?
No, well, what's happening, I think, is that some people are letting off and just trying to get to the flag, and then those that are still pushing hard are catching them even more quickly than normal. Who's that coming in? That was one of the Trojan cars.
Yep.
Is it 301 or is it Alpha? It's Alpha Trojan from 25th position. This is, again, an unscheduled pit stop then. They had that 5-minute penalty earlier on, but they came in 2 laps after that to serve the 3rd and final mandatory stop. Were they destined for the garage? Is it fuel related? Maybe some teams haven't quite calculated that splash of fuel as accurately as they would have liked. 524's in the gravel now. McLean's, it's all kicking off. That's the petrol hedonism car, which is pointing the wrong way. So, yeah, the attrition rate all of a sudden seems to be spiking in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is not the clip for the socials that they wanted, is it?
No.
Less than ideal, that. Especially with 5 minutes left to go on the race as well. Probably the worst time to signal in the gravel chat, but hey-ho, it's done now, and let's see if they can drag themselves out or whether they need a little bit of assistance here to get back out onto the circuit then. Have you seen the Trojan car heading back out? Or are they still, no, they're still in the pits then. So, yeah, whether it's an issue or whether it's just a case of we're so far down anyway, what does it matter? As there finally we see the 311, isn't it? The TGR car getting pushed into the gravel. The 451 PMF Racing as well, showing up in the pit lane as well. So a few teams, a few drivers diving late here into the pits. But yeah, that 311 into the garage now. So that's definitely not carrying on in this race at all, sadly for them.
You've been guilty of the curse of the commentator a few times this weekend. I'm going to take this one, though, because I did say only 5 minutes ago, I think we've had all of the mechanical failures out of the way in the first hour. And now in the last 10 minutes, all of a sudden, lots of teams seemingly running into issues. That will be nerve-wracking for BPC, who just want to see that car hit the checkered flag. There's the 421 Alpha Trojan car. It's in the garage and going no further.
Yeah, definitely issues then. And I guess this sort of makes you feel a bit better about the safety car infringement, doesn't it? Because you would think, well, this was going to happen anyway, so it is what it is. But frustrations on frustrations, sadly, for today for the 421. And yes, with 3 minutes to go, their race is done.
race leader being warned about track limits. Sid Smith. It's only a warning for now, but he does not need to pick up a track limits penalty when he's got a 20-odd second lead and only 3 minutes of the race still to go. So to your point earlier on, he's still pushing very hard. He probably doesn't need to push quite that hard.
No, exactly. Like we've been saying throughout this one, he's kept that gap at about 20 seconds, so he just does not need to go over the edge of track limits like clearly he has been doing. Like you say, just a warning for the moment, but isn't it usually when you see the black and white, you're on your final warning usually, so one more, and really it could be a stop-go penalty. So let's watch and wait as the 300 continues to carve their way through, but of course they will have seen said black and white flag. They will know that they are teetering the line here with only a couple of minutes to go, so you would hope that they reel it in somewhat here for the last few laps, but we will wait and see.
But again, the team can't do anything to influence Sid Smith's behaviour because they can't talk to him, so unless he's spotted that black and white flag, which drivers don't always spot, especially when you've got your hands full, which Sid very much has at the moment, dealing with all of this traffic. So fingers crossed he has noticed that and is not going to fall foul of a track limits penalty. Quite a lot of teams needing a splash of fuel here at the end, so quite a few fuel calculations that weren't quite right. WRC Developments have just pitted with David Drinkwater at the wheel. They are a team who are regularly fighting for race wins, and we really haven't mentioned them a lot today. That's the largely pink 486 car. They were back into the top 10, but they'll fall back out of it now with this late race splash and dash.
Indeed they will. Well, round the final corner comes our race leader, and I think we're about to head on to the final lap as, oh dear, the CEX car that is pulling to the side. The 469, the 489 that is, isn't it, pulling over to the side. So what a shame. Seems as though potentially on the last lap of the race here, they pull over. Well, the 300 has to be a little bit careful then. On to the final lap of the race we go. I think we can safely say now, unless that front left explodes on the final lap, that coming in to change the tyre was the wrong call, and that really is what has lost Trojan Motorsport this race.
Yes, I hope that claim doesn't come back to bite you in the next 50 seconds or so, but yes, barring any late drama, they are looking good, aren't they? Sid's still pushing hard, isn't he? He's throwing the car through the old hairpin, but yes, checkered flag beckons for the Smiths, for Sid and his father Rob. This has been a really, really good performance. Both of them, when they've needed to, have really delivered good pace. They were as quick as the leaders on many occasions in the race, but more to the point, they've stayed out of trouble. They've made the right strategic calls and not picked up any penalties either, which of course befell the Alpha Trojan car when they looked odds-on favourites to win. They picked up a penalty for overtaking the safety car, and that was that. But the BPC tyre buffing squad are now only a couple of corners away from claiming what is going to be a very, very pleasing win for them, and I suspect quite a popular win in the paddock. It's nice to have new teams winning from time to time. Trojan have done a lot of the winning of late in the C1 series, but today is the turn of BPC tyre buffers. Sid and Rob Smith are going to win the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series race here at Donington Park. Sid Smith weaves to celebrate as he sees the checkered flag and brings the car home something like 20 seconds clear of Trojan Motorsport's Adam Willis in the 301 car. Adam Willis and Charlie Bingham sharing that car are going to be a little disappointed, I'm sure, that they're not on the top step of the podium, but it's still a solid second place finish. But in a series where there are no championship points to worry about, anything other than a win for them really is going to be a bit disappointing. There is the second place car crossing the line then to claim the runners-up spot, and third position is going to go the way in the end, I think, of AF Racing. Yeah, they were still 30 seconds ahead of #blessed at the beginning of this final lap, and no matter how #blessed Chris Etheridge is, he's not going to gain 30 seconds on raw pace over the third place machine. There go the AF Racing car, actually. I think they're the ones flashing the lights and doing a dance as they cross the line, as well they might, getting themselves onto the podium.
That was great, wasn't it? Lovely end to the race as well there, and a very well done. I think that's a real benefit of the Silver Lake C1 Racing Series is the fact that there isn't championship points, because otherwise you might have seen there in certain parts of the races, maybe drivers just reeling it in a little bit and thinking, we'll just stick here, this is really good points for the championship, whereas no, it's outright, you either win it or bin it, mate, and that's what these races, what makes them so great. Yet another absolutely brilliant race there, over 3 hours here at Donington Park, but a massive well done to both the Smiths there, really well deserved, and that gamble, as you might say, to not change the front left, paid off handsomely.
Most definitely. Most definitely So, I really like some of the changes that have been made to the C1 series of late as well, with the changes to the pit stop regulations. Pitting once every hour keeps things much more simple while still giving the teams lots of flexibility on strategy. So it's a series that continues to go from strength to strength, and BBC Tyre buffing the latest team to add themselves to the winners list. So, 105 laps of the Donington Park National Circuit were completed in just a shade over 3 hours, and it is the BBC tyre buffing car of Sid and Rob Smith that gets the win. Trojan Motorsport were second, and AF Racing came home in third. Hashtag Blessed were fourth, and they were the best of the AM teams as well, actually, although they showed at times a pace that was stronger than the pros. Silver Lake Racing were fifth, ahead of MDA. Has Been Racing, Silver Lake Racing's 458 car, so both Silver Lake cars in the top 10. Interestingly, James Stocks & Co, despite a penalty, were 9th, and MH Racing with SCR completed the top 10. Gala Performance with BBC Motorsport were 11th. Then it was Abbott Racing Motorsport, SCR, and Quattro Formaggio in 14th place. Project 9 Automotive were 15th. With DCM in 16th, Gemini Racing, more win, Emax Motorsports 563 car, and the 536 completed the top 20. That was W Endurance. I don't think that's actually the name. I think that's a glitch. But anyway, the 536 car in 20th, JW Bird Motorsport 21st, 22nd for WRC Developments, Marmoto were 23rd, Brimstone Racing 24th, and Snail Speed Racing 25th. Blob were 26th. Did they get the fastest lap?
No.
No, they didn't. Alpha Trojans spoiled their day. But the second fastest lap, I think, there for Costa Kritsis in 26th position. Radiation Racing were 27th. Then it was Advantage Motorsport, Emax's 343 car, and Team Stag Racing completing the top 30. Deep breath, 31st, Road and Tracks, 32nd, Eminently Ambitious, TGR Racing 33rd, PMF Racing with CSR 34th, and DD Racing in 35th, JFR 36, Alpha Trojan 37th, actually not running at the time of the checkered flag, despite having led much of the race. CEX, Prep Tech were 38th. After also stopping there late in the going. I'm suspecting maybe they were out of fuel. Mana Motorsport 39 and Scuderia Polarosso completing the top 40. We're nearly there, everyone. Stay with me. 41st, Team MKD. 42nd, Team Insane. These were some of the cars that actually weren't running for a little while, I think, at the end. Petrol Hedonism was saw in the gravel late in the going in 43rd. 44th, Rab Sport Racing. 45th, Cat Driver Training. Red Sky Racing 46th. Ugga Dugga Racing with 47th. Emax Motorsport were 48th. And Needens Motorsport, having brought out a safety car and then rolled trying to catch back up to the safety car queue, called it a day after that quite sensibly, and were the last of the classified runners.